3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome, guys, to the Desync podcast. This is episode, I don't even know at this point. The podcast has been going, I think, really good. And
I thought you were going to say for like 15 years or something.
15 years, 20 years. No, honestly, thank you guys for all your
300.
support. Seriously, we have an amazing guest on today, Elliot. And man, this podcast would not be what it is today. We probably would have given up after probably 2 or 3 episodes if it wasn't for the just massive amount of positive comments. I don't know if you've been reading them. I can't reply to all of them, but man, I read them. And thank you guys for the input. Thank you for the support. We really appreciate you. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so.
Elliot, are you subscribed?
Are you subscribed, Elliot?
He's clicking the button now.
Everyone, that was our guest. And Elliot, thanks for being on. We appreciate you. You will never be invited back. So I'm just kidding.
I think
the windows popping up.
I'm subscribed to both of you, and I make it a habit to try and dislike each video you put, no matter what it
Appreciate
is.
it. Yeah.
It's good.
Much appreciated.
I couldn't have given a better intro for Elliot. So if you guys don't know Elliot, he's essentially a lead designer, missions designer at Cloud Imperium Games. He's working on Star Citizen. Just for y'all's information, this is not a Star Citizen podcast. That is not going to be the main topic today. You're not going to be getting any juicy nuggets on Squadron 42 or Star Citizen, because guess what? Even if this was a Star Citizen podcast, we couldn't talk about that stuff anyways. So
you couldn't talk about things that you don't already know. So what's the point?
Right. So
like it doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. And so we are going to be diving into some of the opinions of Elliot and his perspective on game development in general. And honestly, he's a super cool guy. He annoys the hell out of me and Mike in our chats. He's a menace. But aside from that, we love him. So, Elliot, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into game development, and do you love it?
Yeah. The reason I got into it is because I love it.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to play games with my brothers. Well, I say play games. My brothers used to hand me an unplugged controller, and I would be, I'd be sat there not doing anything, thinking I was doing something.
How much older are your brothers?
10 years, both of them. Yeah. So, that started my whole gaming thing off, and then from there, all I did was play games. They was a lot older than me, so I couldn't hang around with them. So they went out, and I was left in with their rooms unlocked and all their consoles. So I used to go in and play. But I didn't start off doing game design. I have a degree in construction. Math. It's called mathematical science, architecture, not Morph's level of architecture, but a shittier version. Bricklaying, plumbing, carpentry, and then I saw a course pop up for a games course at my college. So I was like, oh shit, I'll do that. So I did that, and it was pretty fun. But I wasn't sure, and it was always like my mum is very much make sure you have a fallback. You know, games they can be quite risky, quite volatile, and it's quite a difficult job to get. But there was this one thing I did. It was this. There's this convention kind of in the games industry called Global Game Jam, and it's where a load of developers get together and across the globe are given a singular theme, and you have to make a game around that theme. So I believe it's our theme was something like your eyes are not what you perceive or something. And then from that you got to make something. And you have 42 hours to make it, and then you're judged. You submit your game online, and that gets judged across every game globally that's made. But then in the sort of little area where you build it, you have a little panel that also judges your game. So we went to Hull, and we did a game called Entity Squared. It was on the Oculus DK1 when it was still in development. And the bit where I knew this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life was we had people come around and play it when you'd finished it. And we're talking 42 hours of just sweating, making a game, a bunch of teenagers, energy drinks, kebabs, our computers everywhere. All we're doing is building this game. And it was hell. I think we had 4 hours sleep, 2 hours each night. And all we did was build this game. And at the end of it, people came around and played it. And everyone who played the game had a smile on their face. And I was just like, yep, this feels ace. I want to do this now. So I'm fully committed to this course and this career path. And that's where it all started. And now I'm here. We actually got a cease and assist from Oculus for making that game because we didn't buy or inform them that we was going to develop a game on it. So they sent us a cease and assist on it. So
that's insane. Just a couple of
nobody
teenagers.
Can ever play it again.
Yep. Yeah. We got taken into our room by our like tutor, and there was like, that game, like, you're not still doing anything. We was like, no, I'm pretty sure we deleted the files. And he's like, good. And he's like, don't, because we got this like letter, and he showed us it, and it was like, oh shit, okay.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. I don't know if you knew this, Elliot. I worked in film, and I had a pretty similar start in content creation. I just reminded me of a time I was like 16 and I entered a film contest, and we had same thing, 24 hours. And I got 16 hours into editing, and the program crashed and I didn't save. I had to like restart the whole thing. It sucks so bad. Oh man. Dude, that's so cool. What do your brothers think about you, like, or I guess your family in general, about you becoming a game developer?
Obviously, at the start, it was like, this is a risk. Because like, it's very difficult to get in the industry. Like when I was in uni, we had a course of 700 people, and 8 of us have jobs.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, in the last year, it whittled down to 300, and now there's like eight of us have jobs, and I believe like 4 of us are actual like making and development, and aren't like a part of the testing realm.
Wow.
So it's a very difficult thing to get a job in.
What do you mean by the testing realm? Like, just
as in, like,
do you consider a job being in QA or?
Yeah. Like,
okay, just making sure.
I would to admit, like, it's because like QA are as much developers as us, but there's no, like, I don't know the word for the separation between like a tester and like, we'd normally say tester and developer. Like internally, we say tester and developer, but I consider us all developers because they're an incredibly important part of the process.
Of course.
But yeah, my family love it. Like I have, oh my god, 3 nephews and a niece, and they all play video games because all my family are all gamers. So they all love it, and they all want to get into games design because of it. So they all like message me a bit, and I like want to show me their designs and things like that. My brothers are just like, well, it's not COD, is it? Which, you know, the AC update, I'll be like, here you go, here's COD. So they are all like, it's not COD, but they also then like, they've tried it and they enjoy it, like when it works. I think the first time they tried it was when we dropped 319, and then they ran Xenothreat and we couldn't get out of the fucking hangar. So
Classic.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, they all love it. And then like, I have my parents, they talk to someone and like, oh yeah, my son's like a games designer, and then they get like, everyone's asking them questions and stuff, and oh, can my child meet him and talk to him, because they really like games. Oh my god, and stuff.
Bro.
So yeah, it can be like that.
Dude, that's so funny.
That's something that's changed a lot more recently, where like, and especially with the company you work at, the idea of the developers being kind of like rock stars, and it's been more recent that games have blown up and become mega mainstream. I don't know if it was like Ninja and Twitch or Fortnite or what, but like in the last like 5 years, games are just
COVID was a big part of it too.
Super normal. COVID's a big part. Yeah, games just became super normal. So game development, being a developer doesn't seem as like of a niche thing or whatever anymore. Like tons of people are making games, and maybe not working at a studio like yourself. You know, they might be doing it for fun on the side or whatever. But yeah, the thing I was gonna ask is like, what does it feel like now versus when you started, as far as like it being accepted by your family or by just in general the people around you?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, it was a worrying thing. I started and they was always worried, like thinking about backup plans, needing to come get me from, like, I worked down south in England, and like making sure that I was supported in case it fell through. But But the great thing is, like, once you've put like your foot in the door, that door, unless you like do something crazy like the stuff that happened at Blizzard, you know, that door won't ever close. It will stay open.
It might open many other doors too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, so when I was first trying to get in the industry, I was doing like so many applications and just trying to get an interview, and I barely got any. And then I, like, luckily enough, got one. I managed to get the job, and then when I left that one, I was like, shit, it's going to be the exact same experience. But as soon as I emailed out and was like, oh, I'm a games designer, interviews left, right, and center, and it got to the point where it was like, oh, cool, I can just pick what I want now. And like, it's a lot of people will go for the money. I like the project I work on. So, like, you know, you've got offers from Ubisoft who pay really well, and places like that. And then there's like, I've played Ubisoft games. I know that I'd be so frustrated because of the amount of polish that isn't there. Not to say that the game I work on is crazy polished, but I know I can make it polished at some point. So I kind of just like, I shopped around and I saw Star Citizen. I remembered when I was first learning how to make games in college, it being announced, and was like, hey, this I love sci-fi. This could be a really interesting thing. And that's when I met Luke. And it's funny you mentioned like game designers being rock stars, because Luke is one to me. Like when I started working with him,
he made games that I played a lot.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I was like, oh yeah, I was like, yeah, a childhood game like Fable 2. He's like, oh, I worked on that. I'm like, what? And he's like, I built like the mini games. And I was like, I've spent years of my childhood at that blacksmith thing just hitting it in a rhythm, while I've got the like blind woman going, come on, let's go. And I'm like just churning money out. You've got like Todd Pappy, who's worked on God of War. Yeah, it's insane. Todd Pappy worked on God of War. He was the creative director for I want to say Ascension. It was like the third one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's crazy even working in it, because you meet a lot of people that are like, I played your game and I loved it. Like you've given me hours of happiness based on this little thing that this thing that you're like, yeah, it was only 3 years of my life.
Yeah, man, that's so cool. Do you feel like it's a little bit daunting working, like, because you're do you mind saying how old you are?
How old do you think I am? Should we play that game first?
I know.
I think he looks younger than he is. I think. I actually don't know how old he is, but I think he looks younger than he is.
Give a guess, Mike.
26.
Berks?
I'm pretty sure you're 27, right?
Yeah, you both. I'm 27.
But he looks 22.
I'm 27 in 3 days. I'm 26 right now.
So I was right.
Yeah.
Let's go.
You were right. Okay, congrats.
I actually didn't know.
26.
But I think he looks like 18, but I just chose 26 because he went to college, worked a few jobs. Like, you have to be older.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting being in the position you're in at 26, right? And you've had this position for a while now. So probably when you were 25 as well, right? So is it a little bit like daunting being your age and like working with these people who like worked on God of War and Fable 2? Or do you feel like you kind of blend right in?
It's like a mixture of both. Like in our company, I have been told that my career progression is unique and it's not happened before. Like, I am the youngest lead in the company so far. But I like SIG is good because they reward, if they see you doing good, they'll reward you for it. But it can be really daunting because I am next to these people who have done some crazy big things, even like stuff that I've experienced, like I've said. But I use it as an opportunity to learn. Most of the times I'm sat there listening rather than talking, to have them, because they're like, there's like loads of different kind of designers, but the two sort of main ones are the people who like can listen and adapt, or there's the people who will just like, no, I'm right. And I've worked at companies where there's the people who is like, I'm the lead designer, I know what's right for the game. And you see the game come out and you see how it reacts and you're like, right, well, that's because you're that kind of designer. Whereas a lot of the designers that I work with at SIG are people who will listen. So even though I'm only 26, if I come up with a design idea in the meeting with like Todd Pappy and Luke, they can listen to it and go, actually, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll go with that. Or they'll be able to
really
riff
cool.
off of it. So it's kind of like I get a lot of teaching by being around them, because I get to like, when they'd say a design and I'm like, right, well, if it was me, I'd have done it this way. Why did you choose that way? And then they'll explain the design reason behind why they chose that pathway. And then all I need to do is like in my head rationalize why that's the better decision, or the decision they're going with over mine. Or maybe I'll take it and I'll sort of manipulate it and mesh it with mine to make something that I would be happy with. Because at the end of the day, the thing is, like, I design for things that I'd really enjoy. Like when I'm doing like the hauling stuff, I get to design something that I'd love to play.
Yeah, go deeper into that, because I know not specifically on Star Citizen, obviously, but go into your history of games, because it's out there now that like your team and probably heavily yourself are working on like cargo hauling missions, and in Star Citizen they've been kind of not the best for a while, and people are, you know, still unsure if they will be good. But you know, if you give your history on like the type of games that you love and the type of games that you play, like I know a little bit of your background there, but a lot of people may not. So you know, what we talked about, like, hey, the games you played, you know, with the controller not plugged in, like what are some of your games that define you?
That's like a huge question to answer.
Yeah.
There are tons of games. I like, when you reflect a little bit on your childhood, there's things you'd change, and like I'd always think about one of the things I'd change is I wish my like parents had given me access to the internet so I could have put my PS2 online and played online games. But I didn't have that. So instead, all I had was a huge library of my brother's games that were completely different to go through. So I never got to just sit there and only play COD. I had to, if I was bored of like this one game, I had to just go, right, okay, I'm going to try this one. I've never played it before, but I'll have to try it because I've got nothing else to play. So because of that, I've played every single genre you can think about, and I love, apart from maybe interactive story, but I worked on one of them, and that like killed the love of it for me. But I love all types of games.
What, like Telltale games, or?
I worked on the Dark Pictures anthology by Supermassive Games. I worked on Man of Medan.
Okay.
And that's why there's so many spelling errors in it, is because I had to do the clue pop-ups for them. God, so like I play games.
Do you know what a Mount Rushmore is? It's an American thing.
I know what Mount Rushmore is, but I don't know what you mean.
So if you had to make a Mount Rushmore of your
right,
games,
okay,
that's what I mean.
That's such a hard question. BioShock would be up there.
Dude, I was talking about that today.
I don't
know if you were in chat. That was one of my brother's favorite games. But if there's a game in that 1950s like old timey genre style, I'm immediately out.
Yeah,
I don't know why. There's something about it that I'm out.
No, I love BioShock. It's
like Fallout 2
the story.
doesn't work for me either.
Don't like yeah,
something about it. I don't know. Yeah. I watched like my brother play it before Twitch was the thing. I'd sit behind him and watch him play it, but
and you didn't enjoy it at all.
No.
Oh my god, I love it.
That's wild to me.
That's crazy. I can't.
That's the only genre style that, for whatever reason, I don't know why, it's just like a brain blocker. I just think it's stupid.
I just remember thinking it was magical going in that bathysphere and seeing Rapture for the first time. I was that like as a kid knocked me socks off. So.
Yep.
Dude,
BioShock.
I loved BioShock. Yeah, and what was it? I forget the name. BioShock Infinite? Was that what it was called?
Yeah,
I think.
I thought the whole franchise was really good. And man, that's crazy to me. Like people who are like not sci-fi fans, they're like, yeah, I can't play it if it's sci-fi. And like, okay, they're not holding lightsabers anymore. They're wielding wands. Same thing. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm in. 100% I'm in. Yep. But like, if it's lightsabers, they're out. You know, like, okay, cool. Like, what's the difference?
I don't know what it was. Like steampunky, the little girl, like the big, fact. I don't know what it was, but I was just like, I just couldn't get into it. And then same with Fallout, like the radio and the
I love the radio. What do you mean? Like, I love the radio. It's the best part.
I know what I just, for some reason, I got this brain rot when it comes to that era of time.
That's crazy.
So,
if Starfield doesn't have a radio, I'll be sad, honestly.
I mean, it'll keep you in company. Like I loved Fallout 3's radio because I was scared playing that alone before I got a companion. So the radio used to be the thing that helped me through the scary times. I'd be listening to Three Dog talking to me.
Three Dog. Dude, do you remember?
I wish I knew.
Elliot, when you'd be exploring like the wilderness inside of Fallout, and like for the very first time, the radio clicks off, and you're like, "Oh shit!" Like you're scared for no reason. It's like this friendly, familiar thing that's been there the whole game is just gone now, and you're like, "Why did it turn off?" Like, and then you like take a couple steps back, and it's back on. Like, dude, I mean, it was so brilliant the way that they did that too. Like, Mike, it sounds like you'll never play it. But like
we'll see.
You have then I won't spoil anything for you, but
I don't care because I have such a bad memory that I won't remember anyway by the time I go and play it.
Yeah, so it's just like the stuff with the radio is so brilliant because you think it's kind of maybe a recording, you think like maybe it's a robot, you don't really know because it's like this wasteland thing, and then you actually get to meet the character behind the radio eventually, and he becomes part of the story. It's really cool.
Nice.
I thought that was a really iconic like gaming moment for me personally. That's why I love that game. But yeah, anyways, Elliot, continue. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, so Mount Rushmore is what, 4?
4,
I think.
Yeah, 4
games. Yeah. So that's 1.
Oh my god, it's difficult. There's like I could list games that I love that have inspired me for ages. So it's really difficult to just pick some. Because I'm trying to jump between the different genres that are games that I love, because I don't want to stick to FPS and then like go Half-Life after this. Darkest Dungeon, I like Darkest Dungeon. That kind of ties for me with Final Fantasy 7 or 10.
Wow.
I love those. I really enjoyed Death Stranding.
Really?
I really love that game,
dude. Such a controversial take. I feel like some people really loved it and some people really hated it.
I have got every single achievement on that game. I grinded that out just for it. I loved it. I thought it was great. But I feel like if I was to go into the design of it, I feel like they ruined some part of it, because like Kojima wanted this whole connection thing where your world is influenced by other people. So like you start the game off and you're having to just going from your home base to like the first outpost was such like, it seemed like such a daunting task. And then every time they just expand the distance and you're like, right, I've got to go further. And there's more terrain I have to map and overcome. And this bit's a BT area. So I've got to plan my route, like, and make sure I can get through safe. And then you start getting roads, and it just ruins it, because now my transport is just get my car, get on a road and drive past every single bit of danger, because I don't need to engage with it anymore, because they've given me this way to disengage. And a lot of players, if you give them the chance, you will take the fun out of everything we do, because you're like, I see a number and it gets bigger every time I do something, so I'm going to keep doing that to get the bigger number. You will manage to find a way to design the fun out of something. So, like when I was playing Death Stranding, I disconnected from everybody, so I had no roads, and I played it solo to get that experience of having a difficult like game for me. I like there's these missions later on in the game where you have to take pizza, but you have to be quick because the pizza can't cool down. But if you put it in the car, it will slosh about and the toppings will get ruined. if you stack it like vertically, again, toppings get ruined. You have to have it horizontally. So you've got this pizza on your back and you're trying to get from A to B over this difficult terrain, avoid BTs, and it's really, really, really difficult, and it's really fun. And the last in that mission chain, they give you a champagne bottle, which you could only hold in your right hand, and you can't run because it shakes the bottle up and it will fizz the champagne. And that one sends you the furthest distance, and you have to manually walk it. And it was
my God, that's
so fun. But it was so fun because I was just like, I've got this almost seemingly impossible task, and I'm gonna do it because this is what I enjoy. I could get a car and I could get a bike and I could cheat, but I don't want to because I feel like I'm robbing myself of the experience. So yeah, Death Stranding is up there, and if Euro Truck Simulator had a bit more difficulty in it, maybe that one would have taken that spot. But Death Stranding for me is, yeah, love that one.
I like that take,
Euro
the way
Truck
that you
Sim's
explained
fun.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like, it's funny because I think all three of us kind of feel that way about the games we play. We all have attempted, at least, to make the game that we play harder, right? Like me and Mike did the hardcore runs. I don't know if you saw those.
Yeah.
You did them.
Well,
I
you've
had
done
the
them in the
idea.
past. You've done them in the past. Mike had some major uncontrollable issues this time around.
Still.
Yeah.
It's due to my module that I built that you all saw in SCM.
True.
Hey, listen,
but
Elliot just didn't want to see you succeed. I'm sorry, Mike. I don't know what to tell you.
I know. He said that he put something like weird into the game that affects me, and now I it's in the back of my mind that every time I play, I think like maybe he put something weird on, like some juju on me. I don't know. But I don't know. Like for me, that's why I wanted to ask you that question. Is I think a lot of people are like, oh, the certain missions in Star Citizen or whatever. But then I think if they hear your background, you're a gamer, you're just like them, you're a normal person, right? Like I think one of the bigger things that of developers becoming these like rock stars, and I think CIG does that more than a lot of companies, is you guys start to become less people and more like these things. And it's not really like that at all, right? Like you guys come home, you play games and enjoy things just like the rest of us, right? And yeah, so just putting out there what you enjoy should maybe calm some people down a little bit. Hopefully, I don't know.
Do you think that those games like heavily influence the way that you develop?
Yeah, 1000%. Like this is like, and it's something I discussed with like some of my other friends who are developers. But it's once you start making games, playing games changes forever because especially if you're a designer, even if you're an artist or any of it, you're not just playing it for fun. You're just analyzing it in some way always. Like I'm playing Baldur's Gate and I'm thinking, and I'm designing and I'm thinking like, why did they choose that? Why did they do that? Oh, they did that because it allows this. How did they do that? That's crazy. Like how did they figure that part out? So it kind of ruins it as well because like I have days where I come home and look at Steam and I browse through the games and I'm just like, no, I can't play. And it's not just because I'm bored of games. It's because sometimes it's like I look at the games and I'm like, I know how much hard work's gone into this. And I just like, it's weird. I feel like undeserving of playing them because I know exactly how much has gone into it. Like I have this thing where I can be an incredibly emotional person. So I watched there's a clip on YouTube of the guy who made Fez accept his award for Fez after all the shit he went through, and he's a big like when I do like talking to the community, I have to talk in a certain way. I can't just be me because the way that I talk could piss people off. Like it already has. I use the word babying and handholding and people didn't like that. That's just my vocabulary. That's how I talk.
Yeah.
So you have to teach yourself to talk differently. But the guy who made Fez didn't. Like he would be on his forums going, shut the fuck up to like the people who are like backing their game. And they have this whole consumer psychology of like, hold on, I'm paying you. You have to listen to me sort of thing. And like to know all the shit that he went through while he was building that game, see him get the award and the recognition for what he's done brings a tear to my eye. The Satoru Iwata tribute video that I said, that every time I watch it, I bawl my eyes out because I'm just like,
do you know
that guy changed so many lives.
No. So he made the DS and the Game Boy.
Oh wow.
He started running Nintendo as the like CEO through its golden era. So he was there for the conception and came up with the idea of the DS, Nintendogs, brain training on the DS.
Wow.
The Nintendo Wii. There's all sorts, like there's this breakdown video Did Gaming did where they talk about like how the first ever Smash Bros wasn't going to come out and they was going to cancel it. But Iwata went on it for like 2 weeks and fixed everything because he was like an insane coder. Like before he was a CEO, he was a programmer. So like there's a lot of my childhood and playing of Nintendo games is because of that man, and to see him be recognized and tributed in that way, it's just like it feels nice because like games change people's lives, and it's just really nice that it something like that I work on can have that effect on someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really cool. I think I see a lot of parallels with content creation, like what we do and what you guys do. And obviously, I think y'all's job is way harder. Definitely. Well, I mean, it depends, right? Like you give different energy than we give, right? Like yours takes a lot of, systematic like logistics and like figuring stuff out and working with other teams. Ours takes like a lot of, mental energy and like emotional energy and, working to be competitive and always be on top and coming up with ideas for the next video. But either way, we're both trying to make content that we would want to watch or we would want to play, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really cool. Like even when you said earlier, that people will like bring their kids up to you and like, oh, can you talk to your kid? Like he wants to do what you do. Like that happens to me too. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to say to this kid. Like, hey, don't play Fortnite. You're probably going to get 0 views,
Yeah.
But it's like, I think it's cool because you're in a position, I feel like, well, I mean, man, I don't even know if I would say that. I was going to say you could actually give people advice, but like you said, it's such a competitive field. 3 people, you said, are working out of testing from your 700 you went to school with. That's wild.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I don't think that people realize, like, and if you guys don't know Elliot like we do, Elliot does great work. If you guys don't play Star Citizen, we are extreme. He's making faces, but man, we're lucky to have him on the CIG team, really. And the biggest thing is, man, he cares about the game deeply. And I think as a content creator, it's like when we see devs who care about the game as much as we do, like it resonates with us. And so I guess what I want to ask you, man, is how do developers feel about content creators? Are we like a pain to you guys? Do you guys think that we're part of the process? What's a content creator look like to a developer?
You're all shits. We hate you. No, I like this it depends on the developer and it depends on your video. Because it's kind of like if someone makes a video about you guys and can be really positive or really negative, it affects us in the same way. Like, so when I watch a week in review and, you mention MFT and then you mention you're like, oh, I'm not like, I'm disappointed in this, I'm disappointed in that, or you're really hyped about this. That hits all of us on our team and hits us like emotionally. Like I'm like, I'll be at the gym watching it, and then you'll say like, oh, I'm disappointed with what this is. I thought this could be more, and I'm like, fuck. And it's because I know it could, and I wanted it to, but things got in the way. But it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. It's always like it's valid feedback, and it's like I know, and it's frustrating because I want to like jump through the stream and go, oh, by the way, Mike, I know we had a whole plan. There's this. I've got all this planned. It's gonna be great. Just like wait, let me do this. So it hits us like that, but your videos also inspire us. Like the reason when I go on SELs and ISEs, I try to make reference to you guys and the content creators is because your videos help us like design. They help us be inspired, and they help sort of in a way shape the future of the game, because I see how Voidy interacts with Jumptown, and then we make notes on that and figure out if we can make something that you guys have made up an official thing. Like when I played hide and seeks with Berks and Anna, I am sat there playing it thinking this would be a really cool mission. However, are they gonna let me do this? Because a hide and seek game mode goes hell away from realism and what is it's wanted. So it's like, what can I do?
Let me throw an idea at you. Maybe if there was a wave based bunker mission or Ghost Hollow mission where you had to, instead of doing something, you had to hide, and they came out in shifts or something.
Okay, right, and you had to get away. Yeah,
like you had to get away, or you had to get an item, and they like went into the elevator, they went out of the, I don't know, like, and
whoa, don't make them go in and out of the elevators. They haven't figured out how to come out.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, it's like, I mean, dude, that sounds cool as all.
It's something that we try, like, your videos can hurt us and they can also inspire us, but that's mostly just on a personal level, and it depends on the developer. Some developers choose not to watch them or engage with the community at all, because it can be quite polarizing. Like ages ago, I was at the Wilmslow studio, and like a mass email comes around saying, if you're leaving today, leave in pairs, because we had a knife threat. Someone's gonna be outside the office with a knife trying to like get us or something. And it's like, fuck. So a lot of people don't engage with the community because it can be quite polarizing. But when you do, it can be super rewarding. You just need to know how to take it, and you need to know what kind of person you are, because some people will get heavily demoralized and they'll shut down, and they'll, it can even cause people to like leave the job because of it. But it's a blessing and a curse, because like I say, it motivates me that I can see your videos, but also that we can talk to you and we can get your feedback, and I can have a discussion on why we chose to do something.
Yeah.
So,
dude, and this is like, a piece of advice for anyone who engages online is like something that I always say, like griefing is a big topic in Star Citizen, and like, harassment and stuff. And what I always tell people is like, just leave it in the game. And this is like good advice for everyone, is like, at the end of the day, developers are just people, they just want to be proud of the work they work on. I think that it's like, whenever I'm mad at like CIG for a decision, even like, I'm mad at the company. I'm never mad at like a certain dev. I'm never pointing fingers, because like at the end of the day, it's like, I know they care too. And I think that, if people take a step outside themselves, and they, look at developers as like actual human beings, like, people forget to look at content creators like actual human beings sometimes. It's like, man, these guys, they just want to make good content for you. So it's like, don't be crazy, keep it in the game, it's like, yes, like shit talk and say you don't like an idea, and that's totally fine. Like call an idea shit, or say an idea that someone had or whatever. That's fine. I think that developers even like getting feedback like that. Maybe it doesn't make them feel good, but they like knowing that the community does or doesn't like stuff. Would you agree?
100%. We there are like threads on Spectrum that we can have where someone is hurling like some absolute abuse at us for a way we've built something, or why we've not done this. And most of the time, it's like you need to ignore the parts where they're like calling you like whatever, because there's somewhere in there's an actual valid concern or a valid bug. You have to dig through the shit to find the gold. And sometimes like that's how we find our biggest bugs, is that someone is so frustrated they've come to Spectrum and they've started ranting, but they actually have a crazy bit of valid, important info that helps us to locate and fix the issue. And we've had that multiple times. But it depends on the person. Like, for example, I will dig through the shit and then give the good news to my guys. Lou could dig through the shit and give his news. I wouldn't let my guys dig through the shit, because I'm there to protect them from this sort of stuff.
It's tough, man. Like, it's crazy to think that to become a developer these days, especially such a front-facing one like CIG, you've got to like be dual faced, you know, you've got to have tough skin. Like that's a crazy reality for a lot of people. But I guess same with content creators, right, Mike? You know,
I mean, if you don't,
you won't survive.
I think my time in the casino prepared me for the
Fair
YouTube
enough.
comments.
Fair enough.
Because I mean, people have no shame in saying what they think about you in the moment when they're irrationally angry about something, right? Is in that moment they lost a bunch of money, a hand or whatever, they're irrationally angry, and you are the first person they go for to release that anger, right? And you know, what if they're not happy about a game or a bug or whatever, you know, they'll do the same to a dev or the person making the positive video about the game or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, man, every video I put out, it's perfect like the way Elliot said it is. I think when I first started putting YouTube videos out, there was a lot of negative feedback, and I kept reading, and I would read it and read it and read it. And sure, sometimes it would get to me, but like you said, there was always something of value there that was worth reading outside of just the general like douchebaggery of the comment, you know? So
I mean,
there was
one of the
always something
YouTube
there.
comments.
Go ahead.
One of the YouTube comments that I got when I first started working here is the reason that I signed up to the gym. Because I like, it was my first time ever doing the live video, and the third comment was something about me personally, and at that time I hadn't like figured out how to handle that sort of stuff, so I hid it, and I'm just like, I'm falling asleep and I can see that comment, and it's haunting me to the point where I was like, I've got to go to the gym, because not they're being nasty, I'm not going to ignore them, it was they're right, I've got to change this. So, you know, even though the comment was probably like a bit like, it was also a nice kick up the ass to get myself sorted.
Did this guy,
Fair enough.
I reacted to his video a long time ago. He didn't like it, so he DMCA'd me. And I like, you know, went the next step with him. So it was either going to go to court or he was going to drop it, right? And this dude made a video about me and everything. And in the video, he said that like he was making fun of my shirts, calling them like thrift store shirts, something like that. Because I was still wearing like all my clothes from college, and I'm like 30 something years old, right? So I still have like super old t-shirts because I would roll out of bed and start stream. So I was in my like house clothes. So it was all crappy clothes. So I immediately was like, okay, this guy's a douchebag, but. And I went to the store and bought some clothes. You know, like I had not purchased clothes in I don't know how long, but I absolutely went to the store after that and bought some shirts and some shorts and everything.
I can see that happening the same, because like I'm yet again in the cloud shirt that I always wear on all the videos. It's because my wardrobe is full of like cloud t-shirts or it's something without a logo on, and this is like the only clean one I've got.
Yep, I just bought a bunch of stuff with that logo, and I was just plain old
simple. There you go.
Yep,
easy peasy, boys.
But he got me there. He was right about at least one thing.
Man,
I don't know about all the other stuff.
I don't know. Like I really, it's a tough one for me.
You're like a golden boy.
Well,
in a lot of ways, like you
sure,
got the good image.
You can say
you
that.
Got the nice hair.
You can
say
that.
Keeps it all clean.
But dude, I get the negative comments all the same. You know, and
you sure they're not talking about Jay?
They might be. They might. If you guys don't know, I have a twin brother named Jay. But no, and those comments don't bother me when they're like, Jay has better hair than you. I'm like, okay, cool. But it's like sometimes people do make nasty comments about me, and oh, dude, like funny ones that I'll get is when I'll post videos and people who don't watch Star Citizen will comment on them. Like I posted a YouTube short where I was chasing a guy at Ghost Hollow who's in a Corsair, and I like tried to VoIP him, and you know, he gets in his pilot seat and I'm like, don't get in your pilot seat, and I end up like taking him down. He soft deaths, he survives the soft death, Elliot, which is, you know, crazy in microtype atmosphere, and then rolls out of the back with a cyclone, and he's like, it's like a chase, you know, so I'm like chasing. It was crazy. But people who don't know are, you know, calling me, you know, a griefer because I just attacked this guy for no reason. And then some people are like, wow, this is so scripted because a Corsair would never lose to a Cutlass. You know, like, this is ridiculous to think that I could win that fight. And I'm like, you guys clearly don't really play the game, because that's the farthest thing from the truth. But then people were, you know, making fun of my voice in the comments and stuff, which
really,
is like, yeah. And you know, I will say that, you know, that rubs me wrong. I think that probably the most negative comment I get is, or one of the most negative, is people say I have a really nasally voice, which I kind of do. But I can't control that, you know?
Yeah.
It's a bit nasally, like, but I can't control that. And so it's just like, okay, cool, dude. You know, I'm sure your voice sounds so much better than mine, which is why you're a professional VO artist with 0 subscribers. But it does take, like, I have gotten better at it, taking negative comments. But it's been a process for me. And, you know, you had the poker thing, and I don't know, Elliot, how you kind of got to the point where you can kind of let that roll off your back. But man, some days I'm really good and nothing affects me. And some days someone says something that's like a normal joke that I would usually laugh at, and I'm like, you dirty motherfucker. You know, you're getting a timeout. And sometimes I'll time people out and I'll be like, okay, they didn't deserve that. But it just depends, man. It depends. I really try not to. But to be someone on the internet like any one of us, you really gotta flex that muscle, you know?
Dude, I still am not, like, just like you said, it's like some days are good and some days are bad, right? Like, I can't imagine when, like, for you, Elliot, when you put something out, it's not quite there yet, and you're just like, oh, here we go, you know?
I tend to stay off the internet for a bit.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I mean, that's basically where I was gonna go. Is sometimes I just gotta go.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't. I'll post a video and not look at a thing, not look at the view count, not look at the comments, and just let it live.
Yeah, there are times even when I've like, it's been a bad day. It's being a bad day for me, and I tune into your stream and you're giving some feedback on Star Citizen. I'm like, I can't hear this today, not today.
Yeah,
or else
I mean,
just,
dude, it's
like,
the same shit every day now
jump
too.
out
So
the
it's like,
window.
I can't hear myself anymore at this point.
It's tough. Yeah, I mean, just so you know, man, is like, sometimes it's like we don't even like talking about the feedback that we're giving over and over again, but new people will ask. And so it's like, you know, it's good content creators typically won't just tell people to buzz off. They'll actually, you know, give their opinion. And so, you know, people in my chat will be like, oh, this conversation again. And I'm like, well, you know, I don't want to complain about EM missiles for the 100th time, you know, but it's
there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah, exactly. It's a feature. There's nothing wrong with them. The Hornet is perfectly fine. And the flashbang green from the blade, that's just a new Vandal tech that they're experimenting with. So no, I was just kidding. But yeah, absolutely. It's just we don't like shitting on the devs. I mean, I don't personally. But sometimes it's like, it's better for me, I feel like, to have a negative opinion than have no opinion at all, right? And some people, I feel like, don't do that, right? Like, some people will just, they refuse to give their opinion because it's negative. And I'm just like, I'd rather be me than, you know, be dishonest. So, yeah, I like to keep it straight. And I know that, you're probably the same way, Elliot.
I see a lot of like questions about like especially in Mike's chat, like, why the fuck are there so many devs here? Like, Mike's constantly negative toward the project, and it's like, he gives real and good feedback. That's why we're here. It's because not only is he very unlucky and all the bugs seem to happen to him, but he also like gives some really valid feedback. So, you know, when Luke, like, I never watched Twitch until Luke introduced me to Mike, and that's when I started.
And just so people know, Luke is who? I guess I'll let you introduce him.
Luke is my boss. He is the senior lead on Star Citizen. He's been working there for like 8 years.
Yeah.
So it's an insane long time, probably longer than 8 to be fair.
Yeah, and I think takes a very similar approach to you, as in like we'll watch a lot of stuff and still watches a lot of players. Like Elliot is in a lot of Twitch chats, not just mine or Berks, right? Like Elliot pops around and gets a lot of feedback from a lot of people, and I remember Luke doing it a while back too, and like the best example of it was that I can think of right now was if anybody's familiar with WTFosaurus back in the day playing Star Citizen way back, and the only thing we had in 2.0 was this space station called Security Post Korea, which is, you know, got a resurgence more recently in the game and is pretty popular or whatever. But this was like the only place to PvP in the game at the time outside of your ship. And this guy would run around the station and he would listen for when the doors were opening and things like that, because there was like, let's say like 6 or 7 doors that can possibly open, so anybody can be coming from any direction at any time. And Elliot's boss at the time, you know, I don't even think Elliot was working there. This was long time ago. Was watching and noticed how he was playing and just came up with like, all right, well, there's a security room. I'm going to put this room and it's going to have this screen that shows when the doors, you know, are the doors facing which direction and things like that, because he was watching how another player was playing it. And that's like, you know, if we talk about Baldur's Gate and some of the games that are getting a lot of praise for, you know, Star Citizen's got its extremely long early access time, and you know we're not going to touch on any of that, but the fact that there is some feedback coming back from people and being able to not only design a better game, but just design a more fun game and fix things and all that stuff. I mean, for me, at the same time of what Elliot would say about me giving good feedback, I think, you know, they'll come and say, "Hey, can you check this mission out for me?" And no matter what I'm doing, I stop and do that, right? Because that's the most important thing, is I care about the game and I want the game to be good. So whatever people think about me or whatever, I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter. For me, what matters is like what people like Elliot think and some of the other developers that I've had some good interactions with. Is I don't need to hear that I'm stupid. I don't like, that's the type of feedback that I don't hear anymore, is that I'm stupid from a YouTube commenter, right? But when people who are professionals and actually do this for a living seem to respect my opinion, that's all I need to know, right? And yes, I do complain a lot, but I try to give credit where it's due as well, right? I think most people just hear the negative. That's just how they are, right? Is you don't. It doesn't feel as good to hear the good stuff. It just
doesn't
hurts
grab your
way
attention
more.
as much, you know.
Exactly. So, and I'm not negative on purpose. I think we've gone through this on the show. I wish I wasn't. You know, life would be a lot happier. Just
I
walk
don't
around
think
with
you're
a
that
smile on my
negative.
face all the time.
Yeah, personally, it's I think people, again, I think your name choice has over exaggerated your image of your negativity. Genuinely.
Gotta stay
I
on
think
brand,
people who
right?
don't watch your content,
Yeah.
I think people who have never watched your content think you're negative. You feel me?
Yeah.
They've
think they
never
just
seen a Salty
assume-
Mike video or
I
watched
think
a
they
stream.
assume like Angry Joe or whatever, right?
Yeah,
And like
something like
I
that.
didn't even go with the name for like to be like that. But damn. I'm just
That's
thinking
one
about
thing
this.
that gets me.
Yeah. What's that?
They're like, when you're like online and you're watching a video of someone talking about Star Citizen who's clearly not played it, or an article about Star Citizen gets another 100 million in funding and it's still not out, and you read the comments and people like, lol, there's not even a game, da-da this, da-da that, and I'm like, there is a game. Like, you can play it. Yeah, it's got its bugs and its rough edges, but it exists and people are having fun on it. Like, and it just get it real, that those comments as well. They anger me more than upset me. Like, I'm frustrated at the ignorance that exists for it. Like, Because I've only worked on this game for like 4 years. I know it's taking a while. It's taking a while, and I know like if I was to sort of, Chris is no one's ever done this before. It's one of the biggest games, so on and so forth. But it's like if people just give it a little bit of a chance, they go, oh wow, there's actually the makings of something here. And every release we get closer to this. Like I was Googling, I put in a task, can't tell you what the task is, but I put in a task for one of my coders to do something. And because of it, I had to look up the inventory. And I found the old PMA, I think it was called. No, not PMA. The old inventory manager where everything was global and you could access it wherever. And I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, that looks like dog shit. I can't believe that existed now, like compared to what we have. And I eventually keep going back, and sometimes I find things from times when, like, I think you showed a video on stream, Mike, and it was like a compilation of you playing the game. And you had a video of you requesting landing at a planet and a cutscene happening. And that blew my mind. I was like, I can't believe that was ever a thing.
That's mental. We never had that in our hands. So that was probably
a React video.
No, well, yeah, maybe, but it was probably SitCon 2015. So like the original scope of the game was super different. Super different.
Right.
And that's sort of what it was. Because that's how all the old CR games were, like CR and ER games, I guess. Because I think Aaron did Privateer, like his brother. But those were the games that I played growing up, and that's how it was. You would fly close to a planet, and you would press a button, and you would just land. And then you would just be at a place. So it's not like that anymore. I feel like we're dangerously getting into too much Star Citizen discussion where it's like,
back away. I didn't even give the fourth game.
Yeah.
True. Is it a Nintendo game? Because you didn't give any Nintendo games.
Yeah, it'd be Zelda, Ocarina of Time.
Oh my God,
or Majora's Mask. I'm torn between the two, and you know what? I could even throw Twilight Princess in there. To be fair, any Zelda game. I love every Zelda game.
I never played a single Zelda game, and I had an NES.
You piece of shit.
Yeah,
yep.
I can't believe
Dude,
you.
There was a time where I didn't play anything other than like NHL, Madden, and MLB. Those were the 3 games I played every day.
That's disgusting.
I know.
It's tough. I think that if you were gonna play a Zelda game today, you'd probably want to start with Breath of the Wild, most likely.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But
I don't think you can go back. I mean, you can, but I can't.
There's some mods and stuff that Ocarina of Time's really good still. Like it lives up today, I think. I think that Twilight Princess and Majora's Mask are good, but I think that Twilight Princess is probably the least favorite of people who enjoy Zelda. Except for one person I know, it was their first Zelda game and they love it. They love it so much. But yeah, Zelda's a great franchise. It's definitely a lot of like puzzles and, problem solving. And back before games like that were really good at that, right? Like it kind of did that stuff really, really well. And it did it in 3D, which again, like back in the day, Ocarina of Time was one of like the first games I played that was like that it felt like a very cohesive, fun game that, I mean, I was little at the time. I could even figure out. But it also felt very rewarding to play that game. And, you get to the end and like, there's like the time skips and stuff. And, my little child brain is melting because I'm like, holy moly, this is insane. Like we're going back and forth in time. And, I don't know, man. I love the discoverability and the puzzles in that game. I'm a huge puzzle fan, Elliot.
Because it's got no hand holding. That game has no hand holding. And that's what I love is treating players not like they're idiots. Because I can give you a marker straight away to go do something and you'll follow it blindly and you'll have Netflix on and you'll disengage with my content. I want you to think for yourself.
Yeah, those are the best ones.
It's like how when I did the bounty system, there's a point for people where you can't go high enough, and it's because you don't have the skill. That's the end of it there. You don't have the skill. So either you keep playing and improve your skill to get to that next level, or you give up. And one of the two you have to pick. And it's going to be the same with a lot of the things that I love is just like, you've got to figure this bit out. Like, I'm not going to help you anymore. Like, you need to adapt, use the mechanics, use your knowledge. Like, in the SCL, I know I keep going back to that SEL, but in the SEL, I try to show it off that it's like, I'm not going to mark the ship that you have to board. Scan for it. You've got a tool. If I put it in, you know, scanning might get, you know, looked at, fixed, helped, improved, etc. But go find the ship yourself. You've got the tools, and so on and so forth. So
I think that's the best way to do it. 100%. So, taking trying to get off Star Citizen here. I'm going to take a little bit of a turn. What do you think about? We didn't even talk about Gamescom, but to highlight a little bit from it, man, what are your thoughts on Starfield coming up? It's very interesting. A lot of people who are now review copies, and now people who can say stuff. NDAs are kind of melting away a little bit as we get closer. We're 7 days away. I think maybe 8 days away from Starfield release, or 7 days away. It's going to be 6 p.m. 7 days from now. So it's about a week. And people are starting to say the game's really good. That's what I'm hearing from people who played it.
Yeah. There's a lot of like leaks out there. It's bug free. And I immediately am not buying it.
I don't think that.
That's what I'm no, that's what they're saying. Like there's some people out there saying that they've played a few hours and there's no bugs and it's surprisingly bug-free.
Maybe no game-breaking bugs.
It's per person. When Cyberpunk first dropped, I'd booked days off for it, and I didn't hit one bug. Everyone online was like, "It's the buggiest piece of shit ever," and I played the entire game without hitting. I think the only bug I had was the chip that Keanu's on changed into a gun in a cutscene. That was it.
Yeah,
so,
don't spoil. I haven't played it yet.
Oh God. Well,
I don't know.
That's not even a big spoiler, but yeah, no, totally. I felt the exact same way about Cyberpunk. I didn't have any bugs. I did a whole playthrough day one. Yeah. But I think it's people who are like on last gen consoles. And listen, you know, I mean this in the most respectful way. It's like Cyberpunk wasn't meant to be played on last gen consoles. You know,
I can guarantee
they shouldn't
that
have.
Was 100% a marketing controlled thing that there. Like there is, because you will have had the game designers and the programmers going, it doesn't fucking work, and them going, yeah, we know, and us saying like, hey, by the way, this this is shit, and they're like, well, we'll try do our best for it. It's 100% like something like that.
Yeah, and that's why I'm gonna play Starfield no matter what.
I've booked days off for it.
Yeah, because for me, I did that thing with Starfield where I was like, "Are we sponsored by Prime? Is this podcast sponsored by Prime?"
Dude,
oh my God, I was about to poggers,
bro. Literally, why was I scared to take a drink of my drink this whole time? Because I knew you were gonna bring it up.
They was outside the office yesterday,
dude. Literally,
Is it good? I haven't had the energy drink.
I like it. I like it. Some people don't like this kind of taste, but it's really good. I like it. But the only I typically get something else, but it was all they had at the gas station I went to. So
yeah. But dude, what I was saying was that I did this with Cyberpunk. Is like I knew it was going to be buggy, and I was like, I'm not playing it. I'm not touching it. I want to see the reviews, whatever, right? And then everything comes back bad, and I'm like, I'm not playing it. And now the new it's coming out with a new
Phantom
DLC
Liberty
or whatever. Yeah, Phantom Liberty, and they showed a bunch of stuff, and it's going to be a lot better. I don't know what anything they're, perks and all these. I have no clue what they're talking about, but I just asked my chat, is it better? Is it worth playing now? Yes. Okay, so I'll play it. But then if I do this, I feel like with you guys, like both of you said, well, I didn't have any bugs. It was fun, right? And then I don't want to do that with Starfield. I want to just play it and experience it however bad it will be. It doesn't matter, right? It just looks cool. For me, I keep saying, I haven't had one of the games that would be on my Mount Rushmore is Mass Effect. So just any game that like, dude, they the whole constellation thing, and there's an artifact and they touch it, and like, bro, they showed it all in the previews. It's literally it's like super Mass Effect inspired. So I want to play this thing no matter what. Cyberpunk was kind of like it was such its own IP with I didn't see much inspiration from too many things. Maybe you guys did. But that's why I want to play it. Is I miss Mass Effect.
Hmm.
I mean, that was a game I put. There's not many games I replayed. Mass Effect was one of them. That was like my favorite game ever. Like as far as the game design, the only time I've ever been blown away by a video game's design was when they explained that a decision you were going to make in game 1 was going to affect something in game 3. I was like, that is the cool, like that's the only time I ever noticed game design up like to that point. And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard. This is genius. And then it turns out to like kind of be shit, which really pissed me off. It was like good in some cases, like certain characters would die, but at the end I thought it was just going to be like better, I guess. And I think a lot of people were pretty disappointed with the end of Mass Effect, but man, that game is on my Mount Rushmore for that reason alone. It was just so different and cool. I loved it.
That was kind
We'll
of the
see.
game that got me into this sci-fi genre, honestly. I didn't really
For
play
real?
sci-fi. Yeah, I didn't really play sci-fi games before Mass Effect.
Caden or Ashley?
Wait, what?
Caden or Ashley at the beginning?
Dude. It's been so long since I've played, but I
That's
think I
game
remember
one,
going with
it's the girl or the guy.
I think that I ended up going with the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ashley, she was hot. I was a kid. What do you want?
Listen, bro. Dude, it's legitimately probably been 12 years, 13 years since I played through that game.
Yeah, for sure. More.
Yeah.
Most likely. I mean, game 1, I was in college. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what year. It's a long time ago.
I was in school.
It was a while.
I was Elliot's age.
But
I was Elliot's age when Mass Effect 2 came out.
Dude, I literally bought a PC to play PUBG. That was like the first time I owned a PC for gaming.
What a
That
game.
was it. What a game, man. What a game. I was literally mooching off my stepbrother's PC. I was going over to his house during lunch breaks and stuff and playing on his PC. With his permission, of course. But and eventually he was like, dude, you just need to get your own. Like obviously this is something you enjoy. But I was a MacBook user. And
Fringe.
well, it's just what people in the film industry use.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know.
And for what reason? I don't know, because we were hipsters and we thought it was cool. That's the only reason. It wasn't actually better. We just were lied to. But it was so funny because I sold my like 2-year-old laptop and paid for and had extra money for my super decked out, way better PC. Yep. And I was like, dude, this is sick. And I could play PUBG on it. I could edit videos on it. All of a sudden, I mean, I couldn't be mobile with it anymore, but it didn't matter, right? Yeah, it wasn't a big deal. And dude, that's what got me into the sci-fi genre, though, was, well, I mean, maybe Star Wars, like watching it, but game-wise, Mass Effect. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
good game.
I mean, I played the Wing Commander games, but Mass Effect was really it as far as like RPGs, like everything. Because like I said, at that time I was only playing sports games. That was it. I got away from a lot of the good. I just never had a Super Nintendo. I never had a Sega. I never had any of that. So I missed out on a lot. Is there anything, Elliot, that sticks out to you from Gamescom at all, outside of the obvious one, Starfield?
Yeah, I like. This is probably weird. I don't read game articles. I don't read reviews. I'll watch like videos on YouTube and not people reviewing it, like just the gameplay video. Because for the past couple of years of my life, every time I've read a review on a movie or a game that's said it was like this, I've always just found them to be inaccurate to what I like. I watch like, oh, the Indiana Jones movie is disappointing. It's blah, blah, blah. It's a cash grab at nostalgia. And I go there and I sit there and I'm like, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I don't need to analyze the depths and how it's going to manipulate me psychologically to relive my childhood. I don't give a shit.
Hold on, Elliot.
What the experience.
Are you saying you can form your own opinion on something?
Exactly.
That's
goddamn right.
Unbelievable.
So
hold on a second.
I don't read any of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching online or at home, I think that you should feel really positively about Elliot's decision here. Definitely don't try to form your own opinion about this conversation.
Well, that's the thing that I've liked about Gamescom so far. It's not like there's no ratings, it's just been trailers. So I get to look at it and I'm like, oh, this looks like something I'll like.
Like,
And
I
then I see
watched
my
the
chat going,
trailers.
really?
Yeah.
Really? And it's just like, yo, shut up, dude.
Oh,
This
you
looks
dogged
cool.
on me for playing Slime Rancher.
I mean, that game looked like it was for an 8-year-old, but yeah.
Doesn't matter, it's fun. You should read the Steam reviews. Someone was like, this game literally cured my depression. Like, because it's all just fun, fluffy goodness. And there's like an aspect to it where you have to manage your own farm and make sure you're being as efficient as possible. There's like a meta game inside of it. So
yeah, I mean, I
like
played
that stuff.
Palia. I could see it.
Yeah,
Palia was very happy-go-lucky. You know,
Yeah,
Palia's good. So yeah, I don't know.
Only
one.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, Elliot, did you watch? Because we didn't talk about it. Did you watch the like the they didn't call it a vertical slice, but they called it like a game preview or whatever, the 40-minute long one.
A rebranded
Starfield?
game slice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
the Starfield Direct.
Starfield Direct. That's what it was called.
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
I think I did. I think so. Yeah. That's where they went into depth and showed like the modular building of ships and the fan and stuff like that from Oblivion. Yeah. I watched that.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? Does that like and this is what I want to hear from you as a game developer. Do you watch that and go, that was a really good look into the game, or do you feel like there's still so much unanswered questions?
It depends. Like, from working in the industry, I know I sit there with doubt. Like, hey, this looks really cool. This looks really fun, and I'm gonna play it, and I can't wait for it. But I sit there and go, now how much of that was faked? Because working in the industry, I know how much stuff that I've had to fake. Like, like working on like Man of Medan and things. It's like, right, I've got to fake gameplay here because the tech that actually makes it happen is coming later down the line, right? So it really just depends. Like, I look at it and I go, hey, that's cool, and I'm interested in how they built that, how they did this, and I can already like see how they did parts of it. And then I have my worries, like with working on Star Citizen and playing No Man's Sky and knowing people who worked on No Man's Sky, how difficult it is to procedurally build a planet and fill it full of content. Because I know that when I play Starfield, I'm going to be flying down to an outpost that I've seen 70 times on different planets that has the exact same spawn closet, 4 spawn closet rotations, that has the exact same AI, that all act the exact same way except they've got a beefed up health bar. And the planet, aside from that, is going to be pretty desolate flying from A to B. There might be a few ships that spawn. Maybe they have.
There's not even flying.
I don't know. Like, that's there you go. So it's like I like, and it's different because obviously SC. But I look at it and I go, right, how have you done this? Because I know how difficult it was for us to get to that point. And it's the same with No Man's Sky. I played No Man's Sky when it first came out, and the procedural planets, and one of the people who worked on it worked for our company, and I spoke to him in depth about like how its development was. And it's the same thing. No Man's Sky, when it first released, had a void of content. It had so much space and like physical, like, real estate, but it was nothing. There was nothing to do.
Trillion miles wide, but an inch deep.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude. And at Gamescom, they talked to some guy that like pretty high up at the company. He's like, my playthrough has been 150 hours and I still haven't seen all this stuff. And I'm like, okay. And they were talking about like the side content. Oh, make sure you do all the side content because you'll see all these stories. And I'm just like, okay. I mean, they're hyping me, but at the same time, I have that same bit of like caution. It's like, yeah, sure, there's 1,000 planets, but like, how can you have 1,000 planets and them all be interesting? Like,
dude,
I don't know. I just looked at it like, dude, you're probably gonna place a base down and you're just gonna extract materials, and that'll be that.
Like, the thing is, they take certain words and they use it to like sell the game incorrectly. Yeah. Like they'll go like, oh, I've had 150 play hours and I've not seen all of it, and it's because it's like Elite Dangerous it takes something like 150 something thousand years to map the entire galaxy.
Yeah.
And it's like, you could then say that, I've been playing 7,000 hours of Elite and I've not seen everything. And it's like, yeah, because it's going to be physically impossible for you to see that amount of stuff. You don't have enough years.
But you have.
You've
because
played
you've seen all the content.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. That's what I mean. So that's what I'm worried about when it comes to Starfield, is even though he goes, I've played 150 hours of it and I've not even been everywhere. It's like, right, but what is there to do everywhere? Because like an issue that hits like the Fallout games is that you hit a point where you've got the best weapons and you've got as much ammo as can need be, and you've got every single medical supply, and you've done the main quest and you've done every single side quest. There's nothing there for you to do anymore. Like you have to mod at that point to get content.
And that's when you put the, like, for me, that's when it's like, for me, I'll probably just play main quest, a few side quests, and then put the game down.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'll come back to it, do a different build maybe one day, but
I think that content density is something that a lot of games struggle with, but I think what the genre that struggles with it the most is space games, 100%. Because
open
when you're
world
dealing,
games, in general too, right?
I agree, but when you're
with
dealing with
open world tag,
when you're dealing with games like No Man's Sky, Star Citizen, Elite Dangerous, Starfield, you name it, if it's in space, right? You have this issue where you have these massive maps that are beyond open world, and how could you possibly, like, they've apparently came out and they said with Starfield that full planetary exploration is possible, is what they said. Like, you could walk around the planet, supposedly is what they said. And I think it's really smart how they did the content generation. I don't know if you heard about this, Elliot. I thought it was really smart. But basically you land on a planet and it procedurally generates the location on that planet that you were supposed to go to in front of you. Like, it's like, you know, that mountain that you landed next to, it's now going to be in the valley next to it or whatever, right? It's going to be within 1,000 meters of you, or however it's going to work, right? And that's a really smart way to bring the content to the person. But I guarantee that these people who are playing, most people who play the game will probably explore 1% of the playable area, right? Probably less, because who in their right mind is going to walk around an entire planet when the content spawned 1,000 meters from your ship, right? Like, nobody, right? Especially because there's no ground vehicles, they said. There's no, like, riding animals. And so how would you even get around?
They discourage you from it. Like they do things to, hey, it's possible and you can do it. And the people who do it are gonna be disappointed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's ways to discourage you, because like the content at scale is a very difficult thing to do, because players don't want the same repeated experience. You want something new, right? It's why I like emergent gameplay so much, is that, like, I build Jack Frags did an amazing video on it. It's like we build a derelict ship on one of our planets, and we build a box mission. But then I enable like bounties to go overhead, right? So then he lands there, goes to get the box, and a bounty spawns, destroys his ship. He's now grounded, can't fly, and has to ask for help. He asks for help. Pirates come and take him for ransom. His mate manages to come and save him from the pirates, and that's like a whole story unique to his playthrough that no one else will have the exact same experience. And single player games like Red Dead Redemption 2 is an amazing game. One of my closest friends worked on it, and I love it. I think it's a great game, but it has the same issue where I go to him, it was really cool. I saw this guy, he was asking for help, and like, it turns out he got bit by a snake, and I like sucked the venom out of his leg. And then I talked to my brother, and I talked to like my other friend, and they're like, oh yeah, the same thing happened to me. And it kind of like, it can devalue that experience for me, because it's like, right, it happened for everyone. And the same thing is going to happen in all single player games, is that they don't have to be as dynamic with the content, because you're going to experience it and it's just you alone.
I think you just described why I love player interaction in video games. Like, I've been trying to nail it down for a while now, is like the thing that Sea of Thieves does really well, and DayZ does really well, and Star Citizen does really well, and, you know, games like Rust even a bit does really well, is that you could play it and 1,000 people could play it, 100,000 people could play it, and you will have a different experience every single time. And I think that
even PUBG, like, talking about that way back when, like,
battle royales in general.
Every end game, like, it was different.
Mm.
You know,
Anytime you can inject more players, it makes a level of uncertainty that you can't control. And if you can't control it, that's when the most experience is going to happen, because you're going to have fun. It's like, I've been playing Baldur's Gate. I've stopped my solo playthrough to play with my friends because I can't control them. I can't dictate their actions.
Yep.
So
yeah,
even though I can say, please, can you heal me? My other friend can go, no, I'm going to turn into a bear and just try win the battle. And like, it makes more fun things, like where we was all talking to this, like in this druid camp, and they're all like, please don't come past us. So I'm talking to one of my other friends, Maka, and we're saying like, right, okay, we've got to convince them to let us past. My other friend, who's like an orc, just goes, nah, fuck this, walk straight past it. We genocided an entire village because of his one decision, which is completely different to a playthrough that I'm having with just like me and Maka, where we took the opposite route, and that causes us to have to adapt and not save scum. And it just creates that really fun emergent gameplay.
That's cool, man. I think that if you could play Baldur's Gate with a group like that and not save scum, if you guys don't know what save scumming is, if you're listening, it's essentially you save before every decision, and if it doesn't go your way, you reload. That's save scumming. And if you played it with a group of people and then you stuck in character, like, you don't have to be in character in Discord, but like you played your character like it was the character that you're intending it to be, and you do that and just let the decisions fly, I feel like, man, that would be as close to D&D as you can get in Baldur's Gate. And
that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing.
We had this bit last night. I was playing just the duo campaign I've got with my friend Maka, and an autosave had occurred as we got into a battle with like this camp of goblins, and we died 7 times. But we couldn't go back to the previous save because, like, we've got to play it like it is, right? So got to jump back straight into the same battle, and we're trying our hardest to get around it. And instead, what we was like, right, do you think we can backtrack through the door we came out of? So on the next save scum, we loaded in, we tried to push everyone away and tried to just escape. And we eventually did it, and we wasted like 2 hours. And yeah, I could have save scummed and gone back a bit further and had to avoid that entire thing, but it had cheated us out of the experience. And that's what save scumming ultimately is going to do for people. It's going to cheat you out of an experience. You should learn to adapt and survive with the consequence of your action.
I completely agree. And that's what makes online video games so much fun, is you have to live with the decisions you make. And I mean, I don't know. I know you've been popping in my stream lately, Elliot. What I've been doing lately is pushing into as much player interaction as possible. Like, I see someone bounty, I try to talk to him. I see someone who's pirating, I try to talk to him. I see someone just randomly in the wild, I try to talk to him. And sometimes, man, I'll like be getting ready to like, you know, have a conversation with someone, and I get nervous. I'm like, oh man, I have to handle this carefully, or I got to like say this or whatever. And sometimes it doesn't work out for me. Like, I'm literally IRL rolling a nat 1. And, you know, they're like, I'd rather alt F4 than come with you, or, you know, play with you or team up with you, whatever. And it's just funny to see, you know, that's the thing that I love so much about these games, is that it's like the decisions you make and the interactions you have are unique and they have meaning, and maybe not the meaning that they are going to have one day, hopefully more, right? But man, I think that's what I love about these games so much, and it's what I love about D&D, honestly. But Baldur's Gate, great game.
You know what's funny is, like, you say that too, and I agree with it 1,000%. Like, there so much, but at the same time, it makes me think of the single player games that I've played, and like when I go, oh, what did you do? Did you choose Ashley or Caden? Right? Like those pivotal moments in the single player games of like what happened when you got there. Like, there's what some single player games do is that there's different outcomes for certain things that could happen, or maybe like slightly different experiences, whatever, right? And you know, what did you think about that in that moment, or do you remember that moment in single player games? So at the same time, I think that the single player games are super special from that standpoint as well, right?
Yeah, and to disagree with Elliot a little bit, I don't think that me watching a movie and then you watching a movie devalues that movie for me. And I think single player video games are sometimes like that for me personally. Not to say you're wrong, Elliot, because I do agree with the point you're making, but I do think that it's a different way of interpreting content, and experiencing content. And personally, I like the other one better, the multiplayer dynamic, the uncontrollable. I really love that.
The little change there, so the difference between Mass Effect and Red Dead is that Mass Effect has more of a branch in it. Like, you can choose Ashley or Thingy, and then from there on, you can handle a situation differently. You can choose to force a situation. They have those sort of branching things, whereas Red Dead is a set campaign. So even though, yes, we both found the snake person, we're both always going to end up going to the next scene the exact same way, which is we got to move our camp, and we all do it the exact same way. So there are even levels inside of single player games that have player agency as the focus. Like, even though the Mass Effect isn't emergent gameplay, it is a form of player agency that changes your game quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it depends. Like, it's single player games, even though I've played the same BioShock as you have, it doesn't devalue me that I've had the same experience as you, because for me, I went into BioShock not expecting that experience.
Fair enough.
Whereas Mass Effect, I went into it expecting to have a little bit of a variation between mine and your playthroughs.
I think they're just different flavors of content, and some people prefer one over the other. Some people love that. Like, some people love the experience that you're talking about so much, they will watch other people dedicatedly play that single player game that they loved, and they want to see other people experience it for the first time. I played games and people are like, yeah, I just hang out in this, like Subnautica. I had people who were like, I only watch people play Subnautica playthroughs, and I love people experiencing stuff for the first time. So interesting.
There's a whole community of people who watch people play new never had played Souls games before.
There's a game that I would do that with. It's called, I don't know if you ever heard of it, Elliot. It's called Outer Wilds.
I'm getting a tattoo of it.
Bro, what are you getting?
I want to get I've been torn between just getting the ship or getting the planets all lined up, or like going up my leg.
Dude, I'm not gonna copy you, but I'm doing a space and science sleeve, and I was gonna incorporate something from it into the game. But don't worry, I'm not gonna be weird.
It's one of my all-time favorites. Really cool. It was going to be up there for the Mount Rushmore things.
It's in my top 3.
It's one of the best games for not hand-holding, and to think that that game that I love so much was started as a university project by a coder who then happened to get funding from one of the main characters from the series of Heroes and start his own company and build something that's like his sister wrote the script and she got a BAFTA. And that's she was insane. Just in college beforehand, and she wrote something that was that good. I love it.
It's insane.
Do you know what's fucked about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I jumped on. This kind of ties into everything we talked about today. I was like, man, I'm not feeling like playing Star Citizen today. I want to try some other games. I'm really in this kick of like, I want to play all the games I missed. And I missed so many things over the last 10 years. I just want to play games. And that is a game everybody recommended, right? Everybody. I get it. Start playing it. And none of it is voice acted. It's all reading. And I am not good at reading. And the first thing I think about is like, if I'm going to stream this game, I have to read the whole thing. And I just put it down. And I was like, I'll play it on my own. And I haven't played it yet. But I was like worried about what the comments would be. Right? So like bring it full circle. That was the first thing that came to mind. It's like, I'm not going to be able to read. I'm going to look like an idiot. And then I'm going to hate the experience of this game that everybody says is good for something that has nothing to do with the game.
This is one of the interesting things in games design, and I have a guy on my team called Yorit. He built the platform assault missions. He is because as designers we're all players and we all design based on our experience, right? Yora is the kind of person who would read and really loves the backstory and likes to know, like, if he sees a dropship, he wants to know, where did it come from? What do those people do when they're not, like, raiding, like, a location? That's the kind of person he is. And for me, usually I don't like reading either. I hate it because I'm like, sometimes it's just like the meme of, like, I don't know where I am. I don't know who I am. All I know is I have to kill. And sometimes I want to go away from that. So I also hate reading. But by not engaging with those games, you can also cheat yourself out of, like, some crazy good experiences. Like Outer Wilds, amazing. Disco Elysium, oh my god, I've been playing that, and yesterday I was talking to Luke, and he's like, there's a character in it called Kuno, who's this dead annoying little kid. And he says, your partner, you can lose your partner and convince Kuno to join you as, like, your replacement. And just playing the game and knowing all the different choices I can make at every single stage and how they can change my game completely, and knowing that's a possibility, is absolutely insane and makes me want to keep playing it and replaying it and replaying it. But yeah. I'm the same about reading games. They're hit and miss. I have to be in the mood for them.
There's another game. I gotta look at my Steam list, but there's another game that's just like that. It's such a cult classic that everybody, like, it's a game you have to play. And I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was the same thing. It's like I was going through it and it was not voice acted and I had to read the whole thing, and I just was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to, because I felt like I had to be I had to be a voice actor for each character when streaming.
Yeah.
So it was just like,
but you don't.
Like a streaming problem.
As someone who's heavily dyslexic, they don't care. And if they do care, bro, time them out. Literally, that's the only thing that I will 100% time someone out for 24 hours. If they make fun of my reading, and I tell people, sometimes I won't now if they're like a new name. Like, I'll be like, I'm dyslexic or whatever. Or, you know what I'll say? Sometimes I'll be like, if you were a real fan, you would know that I'm dyslexic. That's what I'll say. And so it's like a dig at them, but it's also good, Yeah. And it kind of levels the playing field a bit. But if someone's being like an asshole about it, bro, oh my God, see you later. Because it's like I literally have, I know it's different for you, but it's just like making fun of the way someone reads is like making fun of their intelligence. It's heavily connected. And so some people are just not as efficient readers, especially out loud, right? So man, read it. Like I told Mike to, a different podcast episode, read it to yourself and then, just paraphrase for chat of like what happened. And if you missed something, maybe they pointed out, that's fine, but maybe turn hints, tell people in your title, no help. Because that's a game that can completely get ruined if someone backseats you.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's because, dude, I wish I could
handle that. I wish.
I wish, because the premise of the game. I told you, right?
Yeah.
Well, you played it, so you know the premise. You reset every 22 minutes or whatever, and so the game is meant to be beat in less than 22 minutes, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And so once you figure out like the story and everything that's going on, it's like you can only experience it one time. And the build up to that is insane. So it's like, not to sell it short. Did you play the DLC, Elliot?
Yeah.
Oh my God. The DLC was just as good.
I was so shocked by that. Normally DLCs are good, but not as good. And that was like, it was like, I spawned in. I'm like, how do you put a DLC inside of this already? And then I found the DLC thing and I'm like, that's amazing. You've done it again. Like, I can't wait for their next game or whatever they do, because it's just a masterpiece, every single bit of it.
Yep. I'm really excited for what they do as well. But Mike, whether you play it on or off stream, bro, you gotta play it. You gotta play it. It might not be your type of game, but man, I think that game, masterpiece. When I think of single player games and I think masterpieces, that's up there. Baldur's Gate's up there too now. I think.
Yeah,
I think it's my game of the decade, honestly. Like, I don't think that I've enjoyed playing. And I think playing with someone else, Elliot, I'm playing with my girlfriend. I think that playing with someone else is the key, I think, for it being the game of the decade for me. But man, it's so good. What do you think, Elliot, about the fact that, you know, these claims like Baldur's Gate is like 3 times as big as a game should be in terms of content and development effort and whatever, and obviously it took a long time for the game to come out. Do you think it sets a bad precedent? Do you think it's good? Do you think that some of these devs that are saying,
dude, there's so much dev drama,
you know,
it's
saying
so
it's not like good for the, you know, community? Do you think that's a good thing? Like, what I mean, you work on a game that's massive, so I don't know. This is interesting.
Yeah. It sounds oddly familiar, you know, when you hear how long it's been in development and how when it first come out in early access, everyone shit on it, and then all of a sudden when it finished, it was given the time it needed. It came out and it is the top rated game right now. It's beat every other game. And the thing that I love about it is that it is clear that it is not publisher, it is not marketing, it is developers who give a shit about the product, give a shit about the game, and they have gone, it's not ready. We'll go dark and we'll make it. It's the same thing with No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky came out, had a shit release. Everyone hated it. You know, people shit on it. They went quiet and they built it because they're like, we're not happy with it either. We want to make it how it is. Baldur's Gate has done the exact same thing, and it shows what happens when you like when games first come out. It was built by, you know, people like me and you in their like bedroom at their mum's house or in the garage, just wanting to make something cool, and people loved it. And then it made money, and then the vultures came, the corporates came, and they started doing publishing, and they started going, we want you to add, like a non-designer going, we want you to add this to the game because we think it'd be cool. Like, and then having scopes extended, scopes shortened, the game reduced because of, well, we want the money, like, you know, next week, we're off on holiday, we need the money. Can you just push the game out? Like, stuff like that, it ruins the creative process, and it ruins what the game has. Games take ages to make, even small games. Like, there are games that are much smaller than Star Citizen, much smaller than Starfield, that are so amazing. Like Dave the Diver, I've been playing recently. Amazing game, so fun. Animations are beautiful. It took them years to build it, and it's a 2D game. People will scoff at it and go, but it's 2D. Doesn't matter. It's the time. Yeah, love it. One person. It looks amazing. I can't wait for it to come out.
That is my most anticipated game in the last.
And it's you
5
give them
years, 10 years easy for me.
Exactly. And you give the designer, you give the developer, like it's the unfortunate thing if we need money because we need to eat and we need to put funds into the project, right? But you give us the time and we can make something absolutely amazing, because that's the only thing we want to do, is we want to make something amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to know. I don't know any of this, but I would love to know how many people worked on Baldur's Gate and how much money they spent on development, because it had to have been pretty significant. I can tell you it's
not cheap.
I was going to say it had to be pretty significant.
100%. When I was in college, we had this module where we had to run our own studio. Not like real, but we had to come up with the financing and do a cost sheet, because it was like in college they're teaching you how to be indie more than there was for like AAA production. Yeah. And they show like cost sheet. So find, like, actually go online and find somewhere to rent, you know, and get a quote, get insurance, get like all of these like things that you need. And I can tell you, like the company I built, it had 2 designers, 3 artists, and 12 programmers, because that's what I had estimated that I'd need to build the game in time. The programmers alone cost me $13 million a year. And it was like, because it was like I had to go off their salary, top end salary, and the only thing that comes up is American for that. But it was like such an insane amount of money funneled into these games to make sure that they have food, they have a comfortable life, and they'll want to stay at my company, not including promotions and annual increase in wages. Like, it is so much money to hire developers. Like,
yeah, absolutely,
it's crazy.
Absolutely. I don't think that people realize like how much money it actually costs to, like, my favorite accusation, like I'll go a little bit into Star Citizen here, but my favorite accusation on Star Citizen is like, what do you think they're doing with all that money? You know, and I'm like, they're paying people. Obviously, they've got 1,000 employees now, over 1,000. right?
Servers, electricity bill,
Oh my God.
everyone working here, making sure that we've got toilets, making sure that we've got like drinks, because this is I remember, Mike, you did a whole video where they was talking about the new Manchester office, and you was like, well, why do they need this like lavish office? And
Yeah,
the
I
key
didn't say it
point,
like they don't need it. I was asking why.
why? So one of the key
So I knew
things
you were there.
is you make a nice environment and people will stay. It's like Google. They have made a really cool campus that isn't just making making the search engine, doing all of their projects. It's like there's a juice bar, there's a gym, there's all of this stuff to encourage people to stay, because we're creatives. We don't want to go to a boring, bland office and feel like our life's being sucked away from us every day. Whereas when I walk into like my office and there's posters, there's pictures, there's like a fridge full of soda cans and little snack bits there, that encourages me to stay, because I feel like I'm being respected and treated well. Whereas other companies I work at, you walk out of the grey office into a vending machine I have to pay for.
Yeah.
With tea that everyone drinks because it's free, so there's barely any there, and it's just like they're like, well, you only have 5 minutes a day for your tea break, so get your tea and come back to your fucking desk. Whereas what the office and what SIG tries to do is go, we appreciate you, look at what we do for you.
Yeah,
and that keeps people, that retains us, and most of all, you need us to stay at the company, because if we lose important people, talented people, it takes even longer.
Yeah, and it makes a worse game, right? And for those who are listening who are like, that's kind of ridiculous, why do they need all that stuff? Whatever. It's the same way in film. It's 100% the same way in film.
Yep.
I worked professionally in film for nearly 10 years, and like literally came right out of the gate 18 years old. Before that, 17 and 16, I was working on film sets, and I did a lot of commercial studio work, live television, and man, they treat their editors and their film teams, especially their like cinematic film teams, really, really well. Like, you know, same thing he's describing. It's competitive, with like how they like treat their teams a lot of times. And I think that, you know, creating environments like that, like you said, it just helps with retention, which is going to help you get a better game. And I'm sure it's not cheap, but neither is, literally, guys, if you don't understand, CIG has probably one of the hardest hiring processes of all time, strictly because the engine that they work in is very hard to hire for. I mean, would you agree with that, Elliot? Like, most people don't have experience in it because it's
the thing with that is it can happen at a lot of studios, because a lot of studios do have custom.
Fair enough. I didn't realize that. Fair enough. Oh, Elliot, I think you've cut out.
It literally made it sound like he left.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Yeah, you've been he's stand by, guys. He's back. We lost Elliot. Okay, there we go. I was like, man, Elliot did not like that question, man.
I'm in my hometown, so it doesn't have my internet. I'm using my dad's internet, so it isn't great.
No, it's okay. I didn't even realize that what had happened. But yeah,
where did I get to?
I didn't hear anything that you answered about the engine. Cool. Most people have custom engines.
Yeah, a lot of studios do have custom engines, so it's always a bit of a learning curve to come in. But the hardest part of hiring is making sure that you're hiring the right person and the talented people, right? And it's like when I do hiring, because I'm involved in the hiring for my team, and I go to interviews with people who try to come into the company. I think we put up a mission design role, and we must have got like 2,000 applications.
Wow.
And like 1,950 of them are pure like shite, because it's either the person's got not a portfolio, not give us a CV, it's someone just going, I like the game, it's someone saying they want to be a games designer, it's a college kid who doesn't understand that you don't start off with 60 grand as a starting wage. So a lot of them go straight in the bin, and then you've got to sort through the last 50. and the last 50 could be like you interview someone, and I mean these are like real actual interviews of what people have done. Is like we give them like a design thing, design 5 missions. Here's Hurston, and we explain what Hurston is, and we explain a couple of like biomes that are meant to be in Hurston, and we got design a couple of missions for it. And we had a guy come in, and every single mission he did ended up with you murdering animals. Like every single one. It would be like, yeah, so you pick up a box, like you have to convince this guy, you talk to him, you sort of go through it and you do this thing, and then you take the box to this endpoint. But as you go into the endpoint, all these animals start swarming you. You have to kill them all. And every single mission, no matter what it was, ended up with animals dying. We had another one who said, like, he wanted to do a mission where you blow up a planet. And we was like, well, we're the persistent universe, so that'd be like, that'd happen once. And he's like, yeah, until the season resets. And we're like, what game do you think we're making here? So you have people who come in who don't do any research into the company they're applying for, don't know the game. They've just like, oh, I've been a game design somewhere else, I can go anywhere. So it's like going through that to find the like rare nuggets of gold that are people like Lars, Max, and Yorit to then go, okay, you can do it. Now we just have to teach you the tools, right? And the tools can be learned. They take time. Obviously, they're not an easy tool set. Like it's not like UE 504 where it's a commercially traded engine. There's polished UI. There's a shit ton of documentation on it. It's a lot of tribal knowledge, bad UI, but that's because we're just trying to build it. We're not trying to give our tools out. We're not trying to publish our engine for others. So
yeah,
it depends on the people. It depends on the people. It depends on the engine. Like for coders especially, you have to learn a code base that is alien to you, and that's very difficult because it's custom syntax. It's having to know how to dig through the code to find out like where this mission mark is being applied and stuff like that.
Dude,
interesting.
My brother works at without saying where it is, like one of the top 5 tech companies in America, right? And like just going on his interview and everything, they go through the whole interview. He had been looking for a job forever, and they had to ask him, like, we're not even sure if you really want the job or not. Like it was just like they want to really make sure that they get the right person for the job, because it's such a pain in the ass to have to go through that again. And it makes way more sense to get the right hire the first time than to have to fire and then find another one. So
it costs more if we take more time hiring. If we hire someone and they're not good, it costs more because it costs my time to train them. It costs my time to help them through to the point where they're then self-sustainable. And then if they either don't make it for whatever reason, it's not a good fit, etc., or if they leave because the environment's not a fun one that they want to stay in, that's then the money that was spent on me training them down the drain, the money we spent paying them down the drain, and all of that. So making sure you get the right person is so difficult.
Yeah, and then when you do, you want to keep them there. So same thing, like the office he worked at, dude, they had a lady come around, make sure your monitors were in the perfect place, and all like there was like an ergonomic person that came around, make sure everything was perfect, and they had a chef and all this stuff. It's crazy. The stories you tell me.
That's crazy. I mean, but here's the deal, right? Is like, it's like video games are now the biggest industry for entertainment in the world by far. It's not even close to the other ones. And so bigger than Hollywood, bigger than, it's like, I imagine this is why it's got to be so important to like create these environments, hire the right people, right? I mean, I think blowing up a planet sounds like a sick idea, honestly, but it's like, right, you got to execute that perfectly, right?
Well, until the next season, of course.
Until the next Fortnite, until the next battle pass. But no, it's like, I totally get that, because especially when you're in such a pivotal position at such a company that is, trying to work as efficiently as they can to, get the product out. It's like, you can't let little roadblocks like that in the way. So I imagine it's super important. I had my girlfriend is well, I'm actually not going to say what she is, but she works at a company, And there's too many weirdos on the internet, but she works at a company and they hired someone. She had a part of hiring, and they were like, super interested in like maternity leave and stuff, like during the hiring process, even though he's like a dude. Didn't mention it. They're like, oh, like, are you expecting anything like that? And he's like, no, not really. And then they get hired and he's like, oh, by the way, my wife is 9 months pregnant and I will be taking that maternity leave immediately. He's gone for like the first 4 months that he's supposed to be in the office, like literally after week 1. And you're just like, man, geez. So it's like, you never know, right? Like, especially when you're hiring in game development, right? Because like some people are these like wacky, dorky people. So I imagine it's like its own huge process in itself, like going through the process to like bring people on the team, especially such a big team, in such a pivotal moment in that game's time. But I feel like we're talking too much about Star Citizen again. So
I'll tell a funny story, like similar though, then we'll get us off of it maybe a little bit. I guess we've all been in hiring in some way, shape, or form, and I was in hiring in the casino. And on the application, we do not invite any, because when you become a poker dealer, you have to audition, like similar to an actor or an actress. You come in and you deal to us, and then we watch you and try to trip you up a little bit and see if you know what you're doing. And before you even get to that point, when you apply, you have to be available for all shifts. Casinos are open 24 hours a day. You got to be willing to work the night shift. That's usually where we're hiring for, right? The old people that have been there forever, they got the day shift. So we'll go through the process. They literally write available for any day, anytime. You go through the process, you offer them the job, and they're like, so, I can only work on Thursdays and Wednesdays and at 2 p.m. And we're just like, but you said all hours. Like we're hiring for this time. And it's just like, we get that all the time. That was like so many people. It was crazy. And it's just like, dude, when you're a new person in a casino, you're working nights. Like, just it is what it is.
yep.
So some people love to work nights, but most people don't. So we would get that a lot, which was super funny. So it's hard to get the right people. It's hard to build a team.
It
No
is
matter
hard,
what,
man.
and no matter what you're doing, it's always going to be hard to build a team.
Do you think that game development is harder today than it's ever been, Elliot?
Depends on what you mean by hard.
He's
like,
12 years old.
Exactly. Back like
I just mean like the expectations are rising, games are getting bigger, right? Do you think AAA studios are doing a good job, or do you feel like they should be producing more of like what Baldur's Gate's doing?
It depends. Like time's always gonna make everything better. So
right.
There are games that do it great. There are games that do it like badly. So it really depends on the game and the company. I loved Assassin's Creed, and after what they did with when they turned it into more of an RPG, I don't play them anymore because I don't like that. I preferred the old Assassin's Creed, but for them it wasn't sustainable to keep pumping out the same thing, so they dropped it, and I'm grateful they did. I'd rather they drop it than continue to ruin it. I think like back when I was younger, like games were smaller, but they were more intimate in how they were built. Their story, it was smaller, so they could care more about the finer details. But it's kind of when it comes to like even with movies and new tech, it's always the biggest, the newest, and the flashiest thing. So everyone focuses on the features, and for so many years of the games industry, it's been new graphics, like a better 3D engine, this, that, and we lost the sort of humanity that was inside of games. But then certain companies started to bring it back, and then they started realizing, like, wait, this is an art medium, so let's actually use it. Like, you have games like BioShock was an amazing narrative game. Last of Us 2, like anything from Naughty Dog has been an amazing story game. And it's really when Last of Us and God of War came out, the industry had a big shift towards, right, okay, we don't have to spend all this money to make the biggest thing possible. We can invest and build something small but meaningful that people will love.
Right.
So yeah, it depends on the game. I think sometimes, games go too big. And this is why I'm interested to play Starfield, because Starfield could be one that went too big. It might be overscoped massively with absolutely nothing to do, and because of that, it ruins the experience. Whereas if it was more like, not the Outer Wilds, but the Outer Worlds, that's a smaller pond to swim in, but it's quite deep.
Definitely.
That's another one on my list of like wanted to play, never got a chance to. Is Outer Worlds. That's another one. There's so many. Oh my god.
There's a lot, man. And I mean, I'm excited for Starfield. I think that I'm excited to be playing it day one for sure. And we'll have to see, how it performs. We're hearing good things, but I don't expect it to change my life. I do think that player expectations and hype around video games is higher than it's ever been. And it's sometimes a bad thing. How, people were literally sending in death threats to Cyberpunk for delaying the game. They were, threatening this or that or the other. And, people like going psychotic, saying, I'm taking a month off to play this game. And, some people were expecting it to change their life, when at the end of the day, it's like, I'm just looking for a fun time, a good story and a fun time. And if it can give me that, then, I'm sold. And I'm not expecting Starfield to change my life. I'm just expecting a fun time. And I think that if you go into games,
something new.
Yeah, and I think if you go into games expecting that, I think you're generally going to be pretty happy. And the thing is some games do change your life. Like, again, like Outer Wilds for me. There's a lot of games that really, PUBG was one of those games for me. It literally changed my life. I would still be a MacBook user, probably still working in film if it wasn't, like, literally, I think PUBG inspired me to become a streamer, really, because I love the game so much that I started, more than I was in the past, watching people stream on Twitch. And before that, I was I'd watch casually, maybe like Destiny raid content, people world first racing to that. I'd watch Summit 1G back in the day. But for me, it was like, that was a pivotal moment for me. But it wasn't because of the game. It was because of, I think, the experience that I got from it. Right. And so I think that, sometimes people just get ahead of themselves a little bit, and they get a little too excited, and then they get disappointed because nothing could ever meet their expectations. And isn't that the best, when you're not expecting a game to be great and you don't have hype for it, and then it's fucking amazing? That's
what we talked about last week with that game Maze with Anna.
Sure,
right?
Absolutely.
She played it this week too. I know it took her more than one stream, so I don't know what happened there, because it took me like 4 hours to beat. So I'm not sure what she got stuck on, but that was like one of those games for me. Like, you just went in and was like, look at this stupid thing. It shouldn't take too long. This will be goofy and fun.
I feel like I need to play it.
Really great.
I feel like I need to play it.
It's super goofy and it's fun. But
I want to start. I kind of want to copy Anna's idea a little bit, and like one day a week, just play like a goofy random game, and it's not even for variety purposes, just to like have fun. You know
what I planned on playing today? Just Age of Empires 4. But I ran into like some problems with SC, and then like Gamescom came on, and I was like, oh, we'll watch all the trailers and the demos and what's going on, and I got kind of distracted by that. But yeah, I just want to play everything right now. I've never reached like out this much as streamer, whatever. I just want to play everything. I feel like I've missed everything.
You know what's so funny is, like, I'm the opposite. I just have never wanted to play Star Citizen more than right now. Like, and
I also play Star Citizen more than I ever have right now.
Yeah.
But I'm just in this like weird mood of, I feel like I've missed out.
If this patch was stable, I am convinced it would have been the best patch of all time. Like, it's such a good patch, like content and like, choice wise, the tools are all there. But just the stability is not right. And
what do you think, Elliot? No, just kidding.
What do you think, Elliot? Yeah,
it is stable. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It works on their servers. No, sorry to get back into SC, but It's funny, man, because like I think that we're actually in a really good spot in gaming right now, because like I think for the last like couple of years there's just been kind of like a bit of a lull with like releases. Like yes, like there have been like good, you know, parts at some points, but it's like you would just expect with the gaming industry bigger than ever, with more developers working on games than ever, you just expect like the gaming industry to feel fresh and new and interesting. But I think what almost is happening is like a bit of what you said earlier with like corporate greed and you know, executive producers coming in and, you know, trying to like change things or push things too early or whatever. And that's what happened in the movie industry, right? We stopped getting new, fresh content and we started getting repeats in the same story over again and sequels and prequels. And how many times can we squeeze this idea for money? And I think that we are getting a bit of that in the gaming industry right now, which is why I love when companies go out of their way to either A, let the developers do their thing because they trust them, or B, they are not controlled by a producer, right?
Yeah.
People are super
if you look
hyped
at
about. Go ahead, Elliot.
As you say, if you look at a lot of good like games that have come out and beat expectations, they don't have a publisher. Sometimes they're run by a developer who has left a company, has his own money, and has started up. Like one of the things that the industry struggles with is innovation, and that's because of like publishers and the money flow and the money flowing having to be good. Like we don't have enough time to innovate on things because we're limited. We need to put the base features in, which is, you know, maybe you run around, you kill people, but then making some sort of cool twist on that takes time. And we're uncertain what audience is going to like it. But when you have like Kojima leaving his old studio and going and starting Kojima Studios, and then builds a game like Death Stranding that hasn't existed before because he was given the time to innovate. He was given the time to create on it. It's the, you know, we're gonna have Assassin's Creed clones because they rake money in, because there are certain players who just are more happy just to repeat the same sort of experience over and over again. It's a real difficult time because it is like that. People just want to copy paste and get money.
Any FIFA enjoyers out there?
Exactly.
NHL won sports game of the year like 10 years in a row, and it hasn't changed from like 2008.
I think like
well, how do you innovate on a sports game? It's hard to do.
Yeah, perfectly. Like 2008 FIFA brought in the custom FIFA Ultimate, where you could build your own team with anyone. Like that is a small innovation, but was crazy good, to the point where they started to make it so you had to pay for it as DLC because it was that good. You know, even a game like Farm Simulator, right? Oh, you just do farming. Having a professional league out of it is a way to innovate on your content that already exists.
Fair enough.
There is loads of ways to do it. You just need to have the right people and enough time to have the idea.
Dude, there is. We talked about this a little bit before the podcast. This is old news, by the way. There is Farm Sim Esports. And we watched Farm Sim Esports today on my stream. It's fucking sick. It was so intense. It was awesome.
I don't understand. Like
there was a combine harvester going through the field. Right, that's one of their players. Then the other one was in the tractor pulling the hopper. Then they had to bale it into hay and put it on an escalator. It was crazy.
So
do I know how wheat works?
Yeah. So wheat is two different consumables or whatever, right? So you have the wheat that turns into flour.
Okay.
But then you have the chaff that you bale into hay bales that like animals might eat or something, right? Okay. So the combine turns all the wheat into the seeds that you turn into flour, but then it leaves all the chaff in the back. And then you have this thing that's a baler and it turns it into bales. And the whole game is that each bale is worth a certain amount of points, but then there's all these different, you can get a multiplier on your bales based on the amount of wheat you deliver. And so it was just like, there was so much strategy. And the championship game, the final game comes down. It is tied 581 to 581, and it like came down to a tiebreaker. It was wild, and they're just like throwing bales in. I never would have thought it would have been that intense, but it was.
No.
It was
That's
sick.
insane.
Hearing the commentary, like, so one of the commentators was like,
It was
"Yeah,
like
they're
Joe
doing about
Rogan.
six bales per minute," and I'm like, I'd never think I'd hear that in my life. 6 bales per minute as a competitive phrase.
I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your tractors. Okay, Team A is moving in. They've got an insane amount of wheat moving through the field at the moment.
It wasn't even Team A. It was like Team John
Holland
Deere.
something.
Yeah, sure. I just didn't know the team names.
But no, they were like sponsored by like tractor companies and stuff. It was crazy.
Team John Deere with a heavy lead.
You're looking at them and you're like, you're just like a standard game. You probably go home and play like Halo Infinite.
There was one guy that looked like a farmer. He was like way taller than everyone else, and he looked like the only thing he ate was corn. That's it.
I love it. It's so good.
Everybody else looked like, they were Call of Duty, Fortnite. You know, that's where they came up in. But it was pretty funny. It was hilarious. And we were just having so much fun with it.
And the crowd goes wild.
Dude, I went to Gamescom in 2016. The most lit booth out of the entire event is the Farm Sim booth. Yelling, screaming, just noise ever. Farm Sim. That was the most insane booth, and there were like huge releases in 2016. The guy who made oh my god, well, I forgot his name. He made the game where it was like a gun and had a chainsaw at the end, and you were just slicing people.
Dude, you're talking about Gears of War.
Yeah, but what's the guy's that made the name of the guy that made it? It begins with B. Oh, it's just escaping me. But he went off and was making another game, and everybody was talking about this game. It failed miserably. I don't remember the name of it either. But that was like huge booth. It was right next to the Star Citizen booth, and there were some other ones. And like you would have thought there would have been way more noise. And then in the back, the Farm Sim booth is drowning out everything in our area. It was wild. It was so funny. Germans love their Farm Sim, dude. It's crazy stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Armored Core 6 comes out tomorrow. Comes out tonight, I think.
Does it?
But yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I'm gonna play that tomorrow. So that's like one like Gamescom thing that I'm gonna play. Starfield. Not too many other things stuck out. I'm trying to think of anything else. Did anything else stick out to you, Elliot?
Have you seen Hellboy: Web of Weird?
No.
Oh my god! I don't know if you like Hellboy, but I have the Mike Mongolia's graphic novels for Hellboy, and they've made a game, and Hellboy's voiced by Lance Reddick before he passed, and it looks amazing because they kept the art style of the comics.
Nice.
Wow!
And I'm so excited for that.
City Skylines 2 is another one.
That's cool.
That I'm really hyped for.
I don't know if it was at Gamescom, but a game that I'll chime in a little bit, guys, since you wanted my opinion. A game that I'm really excited for that maybe wasn't at Gamescom is Helldivers. And someone turned me on to it. Apparently, the second one that's coming out is the first one came out. It's top down. This one's not. It's third person. And what people are comparing it to is like a more in-depth but 4-player version of Starship Troopers. And I don't know if you played that, Elliot. I think you did. Yeah.
We did. You asked me if I wanted to play it with you, and then you never played it again.
Well, no, I did play it. Just it's like it's sometimes tough when you lose momentum on games, because and this is something we've talked about before on stream. But man, it's like I like playing games day one, or if there's hype around it, or like the community loves it, we keep going.
Yeah.
But man, it's hard to play a game, even if you have several hundred people watching you. It's hard to play a game and their chat's not moving. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's super tough, man.
There's this game. It's a Lord of the Rings game. It's a survival game that is like an 8-player co-op survival game.
Oh, shit.
That you are a dwarf and you're coming back after Sauron is killed, and you're going back to the mines of Moria and taking them over again and becoming like what you're supposed to be. And I look at that and I go, that I love survival games. I'm like looking at this like this is going to be great. And what Berks said is like it sucks when you lose momentum. So the first thing I think of is that game's going to lose momentum so fucking fast. There's no way I'm going to even think about playing it. And that I hate streaming. That's when I hate streaming. That's what streaming takes away from you as a gamer. And it sucks, man.
Dude, being and we talked about this off the podcast, but being a day 1, 2, and 3 streamer for like games, I don't think it's a bad thing, you know?
No.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
But I hate losing momentum. It bums me out.
Sure.
And then because then you get bummed out by a game that's actually fun, and then we can let Elliot chime in here as a developer. Like, that's got to feel like shit too. Like how streaming may have affected the gaming industry in that way.
You guys can kill our games so quickly. Like,
but you can make it or you can break it.
Exactly.
It's
like if you build an indie game and Asmongold plays it and he says it's shit, that's 40,000 people who would have played your game now going, no, I'm not even going to try it.
Yep.
And it kills it so quickly. Exactly, and that game's massive. Yep. And all that game, that while it's a good game, that game plays off of your psychological need to win, which is numbers, right? The bigger the number, the happier you guys are. They teach us that in college, is how to mess with your dopamine levels to ensure we retain your focus on our game. Like, that's exactly what that game is. Yeah, well, it's a part of the psychology of game, right? We're taught, if we keep allowing you to win something, you'll get bored because in your brain, you're like, and this is kind of design talk, but your brain has dopamine receivers. And when you're winning at a game, they send dopamine, but your brain can have too much. So what it does is it starts shutting down receivers. And that's when you become bored and stop engaging with something because you're getting bored of it. So what we are taught to do is to make things to make things hard for you so that your dopamine doesn't keep overflowing and you get bored. In some games do this really cheekily. Candy Crush makes levels that are literally impossible for you to complete so that your dopamine resets so that you can keep playing. It's why it's one of the most addicting games out there, is because they have that thing to mess with you psychologically. And it's the same thing across all games. It's just like, we've got to make you have fun. We've got to make you stay to the game. You know, it's a difficult thing to do.
You put so much time into it, you want people to play it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's kind of the psychology that like gambling has, honestly, almost a little bit, right? Is like,
sort of.
I mean, well, imagine if you walked in a casino and, well, I mean, this would be dumb, right? But like, imagine if you just won everything all the time.
Yeah.
You'd probably stop gambling. Yeah, you wouldn't have fun.
Like when people are blaming me and like getting super mad, sometimes I would say that. I'd be like, it wouldn't be fun if you won every hand. Chill out, man. Like, it's gonna be okay. But the I knew she was gonna do it. The thing about games though that are different than gambling, I think, is you don't know what's at the end. Like, they're always looking for the jackpot.
Absolutely.
Gamblers, right? Like, I know I'm gonna get the royal flush. Come on, royal flush. It's gonna change my life. And it's like, no, it's not, idiot. You're just gonna come here and lose it all back. Where gaming, it's like, at least they have fun with it. Like, gamblers are just
for sure.
problematic.
No. And I agree. And I think there's a lot of psychology that's deeper than what I said. That's connected to like real money and like, you know, being irresponsible. Like, if I lose all my, you know, Alpha UEC. I was gonna say Star Citizen bucks. It doesn't matter. Well, you know, it's just I'll just go earn them back, right? But also, it's like, that's why gambling wouldn't be fun in a video game, right? Like, to certain people, is because there's no real risk to it, right? Or there's no. But if you win 10 million AUEC, who cares, right? Like, literally yesterday, is I stumbled upon another streamer. I don't know if you know him. His name is ArcVR, and he was holding down a bunker under a alternate ID, and so I didn't recognize him. And he's like, anyone who can make it into the server room gets 10 million AUEC. And immediately, I'm not interested in the money. Like, I don't care, because money is like so meaningless in the game at the moment.
Just want to do the task.
I want to do the task. And man, oh my God, so much fun. Like, honestly, I had a freaking blast, because I get there and it's bigger than I could have ever expected. They've got probably, no joke, Elliot, it was insane. Like, there was probably 15 ground vehicles on the ground. Centurions, ballistas, tanks rolling around. They had another 10 people on the ground rolling around with like guns and stuff, looking for people who are trying to infiltrate this bunker. They've, got a couple of ships in the air, not too many. And then they have people camping the elevator. It was insane. And so, we're like slowly inching our way forward. We're crawling in, and at the right moment, an A2 starts dropping bombs, and we're like, this is it. This is our distraction. We run in, and we ended up getting into the server room. But people have been trying for hours, and nobody could do it, right? But if literally the first person who tried to get to the server room did it, everyone would be like, this is fucking lame, right?
Yeah.
But it's because nobody was able to do it for so long that it seems so impossible. I mean, they did a great job locking it down. It seems so impossible that made it so much fun. The money was a non-issue.
Morph was right.
What?
The A2, it ruined everything. You would have never gotten it if it wasn't for the
they
A2.
shot down the bombs. It was just a distraction.
No, I know.
No, I know. But it's like, because if the A2 bomb would have hit, I would have died too. But I love moments like that where it's like, it's like, it's not just because I won, but it was because the task was so daunting. I wanted to try, and that's not for everyone. I know it's not for everyone. I've even said, Elliot, like, I would love one day if there were servers that were like Iron Man servers that, you die, you lose everything. You get reset. Boom. And when you spawn in, you roll, boom, you have a new name. John Smith. He's got 15,000 AUEC. His starter ship is the Cutter, and go, you have this reputation, minimal reputation. I love that stuff, but that's not for everyone. And I understand that. I just love the idea of challenging yourself in a way that feels very meaningful, very risky. It's probably never going to happen, but it's why I do the hardcore challenge, why I had so much fun with it, because this idea that it's like pushing yourself and the content to the limits is so much fun for me. Yeah.
I mean, they had the hardcore runs themselves, and I remember watching you, Mike, do them. I've seen some of yours as well, Berk, and it's a really cool thing because it also helps to remind us that it's like, right, don't forget, people sometimes play without a ship, so not everything, like, you need to use a service beacon to get here, and it's stuff like, I'm doing a hauling mission, you might not have the right ship to take all of this cargo from A to B, but that's fine, because you can do multiple trips in your ship, or you can hire your friends to bring some of it for you. And it's like the hardcore playthroughs are a reminder that it's like, oh yeah, well, don't forget, not everyone has a ship, and not everyone wants to play in a ship. Like, some people hate flying, some people just want to do the FPS stuff.
Dude, one of the biggest, I mean, I'm sure you know him, one of the biggest streamers on Twitch, Summit 1G, is literally like, he says he can't wait to play Star Citizen, super excited for it. He just doesn't want to be flying a ship around all the time. He doesn't really even want to fly at all. But that, in what most people think of Star Citizen, that's what they think of. They're like, that's the game.
Spaceship.
Ships.
Yeah, it's only half of it. It's not. Half of it. It's a small part. It's a vehicle. I say it gets you from A to B, and using some missions, and in other missions you don't have to. You don't even have to engage with it.
Yeah.
But speaking of Summit, that's how I actually found your brother. I was so confused. I was watching, because I play Tarkov. I started watching Summit play Tarkov, and then he wasn't streaming, so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna like have a look for another streamer. I'm scrolling through, and I'm like, is that Berks? And I click on it, and I'm like, has he changed his name? And I'm like staring, and then I'm like, that's not Berks' voice. Who the fuck is this? And I like came to your chat the next day, and I was gonna type, craziest thing happened. Some guy looks identical to you. And as I was typing it, someone mentioned Jay, and you started to talk about him, and that was it. The mystery
my
was
twin
told to
brother.
me. I was
Dude,
like, oh
my
my
favorite thing
God.
to do now is people will come in and they'll be like, bro, do you have a brother? I found this guy who looks just like you. I'm like, who? Like, what are you talking about? Like, is he a streamer? And they're like, oh yeah, here's his link. And I'll click on him, and I'll be like, guys, does this guy look like me? Like, he sounds nothing like me. And, a lot of people will be like, yes, no. And I'm like, then I'll like drop the bomb. I'll be like, dudes, this guy's my twin brother. and they're like, no way. But it's funny because it's just like it happens like weekly now. But
it's crazy to think like how difficult streaming is to start getting a big following, and you and your twin have both managed to do it. That's
in completely
quite
different categories
insane.
as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not like you're boosting each other up or anything. It's you're both just naturally progressed. It's crazy.
It is really crazy. You know, we live together. You know, we pay all of our bills with streaming and content creation. It's fun. It's awesome. Honestly, yeah, I couldn't ask for a better setup. Honestly, but I don't know. I love it. I feel like I'm living my dream, and it seems like you are as well. You know?
Oh yeah, I love what I do.
It's cool.
You know, you get poked every day being a day because they're so sought after and people who are in it. You get poked every day, and it's always just the project that keeps me here. I love what I like. It's my family
Same.
are always like, yeah, my brothers do manual labor, and they're always like, oh, it was such a hard day. How was your day, Elliot? And I'm like smiling. I'm happy as anything. I'm like, yeah, it was easy. Like it was a breeze. Like it flew by, and it gets to the point where I know I talked to Mike about it, but I stay after work for so long, or I remote into work. Like Christmas Eve, I've remoted into work to fix a bug with Korea while telling Laz, don't you dare turn your computer on and remote into work.
I know that feeling, man. Yeah. From working in film, I know that feeling.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I was that guy.
It's an addiction.
Yeah, I was that guy. Like staying up until 4 a.m., sleeping at the office because it wasn't up to my personal standards. You know, 100%. Like completely removing someone off of a project, or sneakily removing them off of a project, being like, "Oh, I'll edit the rest of it. Don't worry," because you know, I wanted to make sure it was up to my quality, which honestly is a big problem for me. Like I don't even watch my YouTube videos that my editor does because I can't, because I will try to make decisions that will it will cause me to intervene in ways that I shouldn't. I don't need to. So I've like given him complete creative control. It's hard for me though. You know, it's tough. But dude, let me ask you this question, and then and Mike, unless you have anything else, we'll let you go. What is your, as a developer and as a creative, like, and this is, you know, not supposed to be like you want to quit working at CIG or anything, but if you had the opportunity, what would be like your, it could be a game that doesn't exist, by the way. I'm not saying you got to go work at a game developing studio. What would be like your dream game to work on or make, right?
Oh my God. That's a difficult question. There's so many games and so many companies that I'd love to work at because they make amazing games, but it's kind of like that thing of don't meet your heroes. If I went to work for them, I wouldn't be able to play their games because I've spent so much time on it building it. I don't know. I'd like to learn more. Definitely. I don't think I'd want to make my own game yet. I'd want to learn from more people. So I'd like to like learn under people like Warren Spector, Kojima, they like tons of developers. I can't think of all the names right now on the spot, but there's tons of people I'd love to work under. But I'd love to build a project that is like small but incredibly deep. Like Disco Elysium isn't a big size game, but it's incredibly complex and rewarding in how it's built. I'd love to do something like that, but for the time being, you know, even though I'm nearly 30, which I don't like saying, I still feel like I have so much to learn.
Shut up,
bro. Listen, dude. I mean,
shut up.
Can you remember how you felt when you was at my age and it was like coming on 30? Like it feels like yesterday I was 18 in university.
Yes, I remember what it was like to feel 26, and I would never say I'm almost 30.
Yeah. Dude, I'm almost 30. I'm 29.
I think it's the whole thing of like, you know, the comparison is a thief of joy, where I'm trying to constantly, like, I want to be a creative director one day. That is my ultimate goal. So I'm trying to get there. And it's always like, I'm running out of time to get there. Where, like, you know, if I sit back and think about it, I'm probably not running out of time, you know. It probably took Todd till he was 40 to get to creative director. But I'm trying to get there as quickly as possible because I feel like if I don't, I'm gonna be like 60 and still not have it. So it's a difficult one. Yeah.
Man, that's interesting. I totally get what you're saying, because I ended up having to leave the creative industry because I hated working for the people that I was working for, fulfilling someone else's vision. I wanted to do. I loved film, but I hated the process. Kind of don't meet your heroes kind of moment for me was realizing that the industry wasn't what I thought it was. It's not always making the super cool, flashy stuff. Sometimes it's boring. Sometimes it's doing stuff that you don't like just to pay your bills. And at the end of the day, I had to leave. So man, I'm super happy that you're in an industry where you feel like you can, stay planted and kind of grow in your craft, right? And man, whether Star Citizen is a forever future for you, or maybe you end up somewhere else, dude, I'm sure whatever dev studio you work at are going to be super glad to have you, because you're super talented. Man, I look forward to seeing what you work on, both in the game that we play right now and whatever you work in the future, man.
And maybe one day you'll be making a video and going, "Oh shit, this was made by Elliot Maltby. I know that guy."
I know that guy.
Exactly. Like, I've got him on Discord. Like, oh shit. Because ultimately, that's where I want to be one day. I want to have my own game, and I want people to enjoy it.
Hell yeah, dude. I mean, you could say the same about any game dev, right? So that's sick, dude. It seems like you're in the right place. Well, anyways, dude, thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate you. Mike, you got anything else?
No, other than congratulations, Elliot.
Yeah.
You know what?
There's a meme in my chat. We just decided, because Elliot's always around, we decided we were going to congratulate him on, and just he wouldn't know what he was being congratulated for. And we named him the worst developer at Star Citizen 2 years running. So we congratulated him, and he had no idea for a while. And then I think Lars or somebody else that he works with leaked all the fun we were having.
It was I think it was someone in an SCL. Someone had put in there, "You're on your way to being the 3rd time worst." Yeah. And I saw that message. I was like, that's what they're congratulating me on. Yeah. My God. But it used to, honestly,
we're spoiled.
You used to start that, right? And then I'd see in the office people around me just stand up, look at me, and just start clapping at me. Like he's like right in front of me, and he'd just raise up, clapping.
Well, he's
me.
Next, so he shouldn't be clapping.
Thank
he's
God.
Next.
The guy built prison. Come on, guys.
Hold on a second, Mike. Do we need to have a contest for who's going to be the worst creator of the year? Is it me or you?
Oh, we all know who it is.
the guy who told me he slept with my mum. Yeah.
It's me.
No, Mike didn't tell me. But...
Just go to the YouTube comments and let us know who the worst creator is.
Who's the worst creator? No, actually, we can't say this because people are going to start naming off real names.
No, between just you and me.
Oh, between you and me? Okay, yeah, between me and Mike, who has your vote for worst creator of Star Citizen for 2023? Yo, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're still listening, we freaking appreciate you. I think the podcast has been going, what?
Do we lose him again? Creator.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I
was like, do we lose him again? But yeah, we appreciate your compliments. We appreciate your comments and your positive energy towards the podcast. It's been overwhelming. So again, if you're still listening and you're not subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers. And after that, we get monetization, but also more importantly is YouTube prioritizes the videos better when they are monetized. So that's the big thing. So we're looking for discoverability, and you guys are helping tremendously with that. So thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you next week. This was the Desync podcast, and we'll see you next time.